All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Are we live still? All right, yeah, there we go. Okay, chat. Welcome in. We are live. First quarter of Pacers-Cavs was, I was going to say we were just jumping on at the right time just as it's getting interesting because the Cavs were, I mean, we've seen this story before, people, that Cavs were jumping out to their usual lead, and I guess the Pacers decided we're not going to wait for the fourth quarter to make the push. We'll try to do it, and we'll try to keep this game entertaining a little bit earlier on, and the Cavs do, I mean, chat, we're just barely into the first quarter. Mine's already racing. There's already so much going on tonight. I mean, again, these playoffs have been historic. They've been crazy, but as you see the sort of patterns figure out, and again, we're still and I guess the playoffs have been pretty crazy in general, but specifically those first couple of games in the second round, just the way we've gotten off to this hot start in the semifinals here, chat. But as you just continue to try to digest exactly what's going on with these games, because even still with this game, chat, and just there's an anticipation for these types of games that I wouldn't really have. And I guess that is maybe what I'm about to say is the byproduct of having an underdog in the lead of the series for a lot of these series. But, with the better teams being down, and like we have the Indiana-Cleveland thing, and I guess, I'm saying better teams, chat. We're talking, I'm saying my mind's racing, chat, but, we're saying better teams compared to what we saw in the regular season as well. So maybe the playoff intensity, of course, just changes. But with the way that the teams that have won have had to crap, hey, yo, chat, they definitely were, playing like crap a little bit earlier in the game. But with the way they've had to scratch and claw, there we go, chat. I guess if you play like crap, you do have to scratch and claw to get your. So the combo word there, it kind of is speaking in code. But with the way that the Pacers and the Knicks have had to battle back in these series to win those games, it does feel, obviously, Boston and Cleveland have showed themselves as the superior teams and I guess the point is in the way that the Pacers and the Knicks have not against the Cavs. For as much as we want to give the Pacers credit and the Pacers and the Knicks credit for being up in the series against these teams, and at the end of the day, you only need the lead for 1 second of the game, chat. Literally the Knicks in the game the other night, being even more dramatic in that Game 2 victory. But that is what is going to be so fascinating about these Game 3s, of course, as well. Because, I mean, if the Pacers, and the dynamic of the teams going on their home court as well, too, where it's the Pacers should win a game on their home court more likely. The Knicks should win a game more likely on their home court. But then the series goes up 3-0, so you imagine the Celtics and the Cavs are, of course, going to be playing with a little bit more desperation. So it's just going to be real, are the better teams that we thought, real validating across the court of, as the playoffs are, chat, for all the teams that are playing in it. But just those better teams. And I know, Russillo, I think the title of his last pod was, are the Knicks actually, and I think that's what he was saying as well, too. Did he actually say he refuses to believe that the Knicks are, something along those lines, chat. But again, it just is the way that the games have bared out. The Knicks have not necessarily had a 20-point lead over the Celtics in these games. The Pacers have not dominated the Cavs the way the Cavs had in the games that they were winning as well. So, Indiana at home, the game kind of starts a similar way. And, is the NBA just going to reuse the script this aggressively, chat? We haven't been keeping up with some of the prestige TV shows the way that, some of the, and maybe with the way the conversation's been popping off at work about some of these shows as well, too, chat. The White Lotus conversations were hot on those Mondays right after the Sunday drops. So, we should have been locked in and watching along. But, with the way that, I don't know if they're overusing the same plot lines in a lot of these shows these days, if that's just what Hollywood is at this point. So is the NBA just Hollywood? WWE, chat, I've never really been a fan of the WWE. And I guess, you could say even still today, people are is it not scripted? Is it real? But of course, it's fully considered. And again, I'm not saying fake in a bad way. I'm just saying that I guess the scriptedness of it is embraced in a way now that it hasn't been before. Because I guess it kind of turned a corner. It seems just from the outside looking in, there was a while there where, and I don't know if there whatever the point was that I wouldn't know would be how real people thought it was at one point in the beginning of the run, where wait a second, are these people actually doing these things? And maybe it was more realistic, and they were okay, we need to start scripting some of this stuff. We can't trust the real outcomes. We have to control the narratives ourselves. But I guess I don't know that conversation from real to fake, but from when we were just just watching the WWE over these last couple of years, as it's, in our lives, like, it seems like there was that conversation of it's sort of looked down on as a, scripted fake thing. Like, this it can't be a sport because it's scripted. And now it is like a scripted sport. Like, it's like, oh, that's what's fun about the WWE is these storylines and, how are they weaving, and I guess, like we're saying, entertainment, I guess what are the quality of the storylines? I don't know. The WWE fans in the chat are going to have to, chime in and help us out. But, is this the phase that we're in right now with the NBA, where we're delusional NBA fans? Like, no, it's real, chat. The basketball's real. The people, the outcomes, it's all just the best player, best teams win. Like the NFL, I mean, they tried to script it for the Chiefs, chat, the three-peat. They got them all the way back to the Super Bowl. And then they're like, the Eagles were like, it can't happen. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and, the Georgia defensive line was like, no, we cannot. We have to go against the script, chat. So we'll see how that plays. I guess they did do well in the draft again, too. So I don't remember exactly all their picks. Like last year, of course, the Quinyon, Mitchell, Cooper DeJean picks. I mean, those were picks in the moment as well, too, I think. As the rest of the NFL, we wanted to look at those picks and be like, no, those aren't going to win us the Super Bowl. Those aren't going to win the Super Bowl. Like, Howie Roseman can't just be doing that, because there is something to the team, and maybe the Thunder had this a little bit as well, too, because, if we looked at the Eagles last year, and the Eagles, make no mistake, I guess, for the course of the regular season did not play as well as the Thunder did from start to finish. Now, the Eagles did play really well in the regular season and maybe, hit the same levels, but I don't even, because you look at some of the stats for the defense, the last time they went to the Super Bowl, and I think there was some sack records and stuff. I guess I don't know exactly how that compared to what they did. The defense this year ultimately was better. Like, the secondary was more well-equipped, and I guess the matchup was better as well, too. The Chiefs were a little bit, even a couple less pieces from a couple of years ago. And, that game was even close. Just a Jalen Hurts. I mean, and they were the better team in that game as well, too, if we go back and look at it, like, realistically. And especially, like we're saying now, the fact that they were able to, in 2 seasons, swap places so dominantly with them. And even though the Mahomes-Hurts thing stands as the way it does, it's like the rest of the roster is so much better. But there is something something to the team that is more built by the GM than is run by the players, chat. And I guess, Nuggets versus Thunder is literally a direct series of that, where Jokic is, like we're saying, the Mahomes level player, I guess, in the series. And the Pacers getting the buzzer beater-ish 3 at the end of the quarter. Ben Shepherd, chat. This is year 2 for Shepherd, right? I'm pretty sure sophomore season for our guy. So, time to step up in the playoffs right there. Max Strus flying in for the closeout. Doesn't matter. 3-pointer. High five in the fans, chat. I think if we play, I mean, I think everybody imagines what they would do if they played. But I think if we played, I'd do a lot of fan high fives. A lot of just run up. I guess, are we already on here? We're not even in the NBA, and we're already saying we're not going to play defense running back. I mean, it's 2025, chat. We don't have to run back in transition and play defense. Luka Doncic can be the best player in the league and not play defense, but I guess, if we're on Nico Harris's team, he's going to trade us. But I definitely would be mixing in the fan high fives. I think it's fun. And I'm not necessarily like I think the rules in place the way that they are, like, fans obviously shouldn't be initiating high fives with I guess, the fans are in a way, like, obviously be like, hey, is this going to be the time I'm going to get the high five from, and if you're a fan or you're like, okay, I guess, but, I guess Ben Shepherd is probably more likely to high five than maybe a star player, chat, but then you're like, okay, I got my high five from Ben Shepherd. I'm trying to think. We've been to one Spurs game in our live chat, shout out, so, we'll make our way back. But, we have a live stream from I guess the Wi-Fi in the stadium would probably be pretty weak, chat. But I guess as it continues to get better, like, I wonder if can we cook that up? A little live stream from in the arena? And, we'll probably get kicked out if we start live streaming the actual game itself. But if we live stream can we bring the couch to the game, chat? I don't know if it starts to get next level. Just courtside, us with the couch. I mean, there was that guy with the barber that one time that was getting his hair cut on the courtside. I forget who that was, chat. It was some, it was some creator, comedian guy but I just forget exactly which one it was. I guess, another excuse to go back and look up that clip. But if he can get a barber, he didn't have a barber chair. He did have the little like cover cloak thing that you put on, and of course, they had the trimmers and stuff going. But or was it trimmers? I guess we're gonna have to go back and watch the tape, chat, do a real play-by-play. I guess are we gonna get copyrighted for playing the barber at the NBA game? Let's see, chat. If we do NBA game barber, is this going to take us to 2K? Or is this going to take us to the clip that we want, chat? How hair gets picked in the bubble? Yes, some 2K clip. Okay, a Jeremy Lin haircut. Shout out. I don't remember this Jeremy Lin look, chat. Is this in the NBA? Or who knows? But, I bet if we go courtside, it'll probably pop up. Yeah, here we go, chat. Oh, shout out. I'm going to say his name wrong. Is it Gideon, chat? I mean, I should know who this guy is, obviously. But, Anthony Edwards looks like he could, down one, up 110 to 87. At this time, chat, Edwards could probably get the fade, get a lineup going there, chat. But, let's see. Yeah, I guess, he does. Is that the Louis Vuitton barber cloak, chat? Or Supreme? What do we got there? But I guess back to the Met Gala review. It's already been 2 days since the Met Gala review, and we don't even know the high fashion brands anymore, chat. But, we just turn on Met Gala brand, I guess, for one more time. Is this Chris Ryan sitting next to him, chat? Shout out. I don't know who that is, but, yeah, iconic stuff. So he can get a barber. Can we get the couch at an NBA game? I guess that's the goal going forward, chat. But second quarter here, okay, Cleveland's going to take the lead. But so I guess, again, we get to see these teams battle, actually, maybe in like a real close game. And I guess the point that I was saying was, chat, we're not walking back our points, but the point was, the interesting dynamic of what this Game 3 is going to be and what each of these teams have to prove. Because like we're saying, the Pacers can, and, if they win the game, again, like storming back from a 20-point deficit, at the end of the day, it's still them up 3-1. But, and chat, I should mention as well, too, we had to find, something for the second TV, and I guess we could have, I was thinking about going and seeing if there's, like, some hockey or something. Again, shout out to Rosillo. He was like, sports fans, why don't you like hockey? But I guess, Key and Peele is also on as well, too. So I'm not saying that hockey's not great. I'm just saying that we're getting our sports fix with the basketball game on right now, and also we can watch Key and Peele sketches in the background as well, too. So they've got, and the Make-A-Wish kid, one of the Make-A-Wishes, the doctor's like, do you want to play for your favorite basketball team? And do you want to be Superman for a day? So, I mean, he's basically doing the Jason Tatum ad with the Make-A-Wish kid in the sketch chat. It was foreshadowing. I mean, this is definitely a, horror-y type sketch. So, makes sense that there would be some kind of supernatural prediction maybe made in this one as well, too. Does he say, is Jason Tatum going to go 4 for 14 in the first half of a playoff game, chat? But, of course, and I mean, and maybe we just need to go back and watch more interviews as well, too, or, keep watching more interviews that they do. But it'd be interesting to see what they say and what the actual, if we could be a fly on the wall, chat, what the creative forces in the room would be for Key and Peele. And I mean, obviously, just because it's such a dynamic sketch force in general. But just the two of those guys, and for the run that they had as well, and I know, obviously, in the timeline of things, it's like with Chappelle leaving. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all great sketch shows. But, Chappelle, of course, was only, 3 seasons, chat? And just less episodes. So with the run that those guys had for being, a smaller team like that. We were talking about dynamic duos last time, and we were talking about Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. So we would honestly have to put Key and Peele right up on the list. Are we assembling the Rem and Sam dynamic duo power ranking, chat? We don't want a borderline pause type title, but just for the best, again, duos, chat. I feel like that's the most professional word to use for it, but the best duos of, and I guess I was going to say the best duos of guys, but it could be anybody really, chat. It could be any guy, guys is it, I mean, if it is actually like, not a neutral term, but I feel like it is, chat. I feel like it is just, and again, I'm not be like, oh, dude, you make the masculine term the one to go, but just as a term to throw around. Like, I feel, I guess in the way to say it would be, if you throw it around, you can, hey, yo, what are we talking about now, chat? But we're talking about Key and Peele sketches. They're a great team, work together great, and again, with the tone of a lot of the sketches, the way that they were able to cross over and mix the comedy and the horror so well. I mean, in the way that Peele has carried those, I would say horror tones, but he's been doing horror movies, like the way he's been doing those things, and maybe less and less as hoary. I guess which one's we're gonna get the titles mixed up for the other ones because I'm not as familiar with the ones that aren't Get Out, chat. But Us is the one with the doppelganger situation, and then Nope is the alien-y one, I think, with our guy. Is it Steven Yeun? Did I say that last name right, chat? Our guy Steven Yeun. But I think those are, obviously Get Out is more, and iconic movie, but it is, I think, Us is a little bit more horror. I guess the one I was saying is, I don't know how much horror is in the Nope movie, chat. But the next movie, not directed by Peele, but he is producing this movie, which I'm sure you guys have seen trailers for at this point. It's the Marlon Wayans, and I don't remember who the younger, like, up-and-coming football player is in that one, but it's a football movie, and it's that kind of action, drama, horror type thing. I guess more like thriller type stuff, because, I guess once we start crossing over into that side of film, we're not necessarily an expert with the genres, chat. We'd have to start calling, we'd have to call the champ to get a real dissection on what the proper genres would be to put all this stuff, the proper categories, chat, to put all these movies in. But, and maybe he's seen trailers for this one, I don't know, but it does look pretty intense. Marlon Wayans in like a real acting role, chat. I'm trying to think, was there a trailer for that one in the theaters when we were watching Sinners, chat? I don't remember exactly. The F1 trailer definitely stood out, but I feel like if there was a trailer for him, the movie that we're talking about, it would have stood out as well too. And what is the director's name, chat? We should definitely shout him out, because like we said, it's produced by Jordan Peele, but directed by Justin Tipping. So probably, again, a name that we should know, but maybe just doesn't make movies that we haven't necessarily watched yet, chat. Let's see. Oh, okay, so no, he does have a very, very limited, at least film filmography. He does have a couple of TV shows, episodes in here as well. But he's only directed one other movie, Kicks? Chat, should we watch the Justin Tipping directorial debut? What's the plot? Oh, it's not going to give us like the synopsis. It's just going to give us the plot. But Mahershala Ali, chat? Okay, you talked me into it. A lot of times there's two words that'll get me to watch a movie, chat. Mahershala Ali, which R.I.P. Blade. But, speaking of two words, you want to get us to watch a movie in one word, just say Blade. Like, oh, I guess I'm in. But him as well, too, at this point, after seeing the trailers, we know what you're referencing. So, yeah, Marlon Wayans, and then is this the next football player on the Tyreek Withers, chat, who maybe is getting a breakout role as well, too. I Know What You Did Last Summer, a slasher film. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Okay, chat, a remake of a 91. Tell Me Lies. Megan Oppenheimer, is that what that said? On a series created by Megan Oppenheimer. I mean, chat, how many Oppenheimers are there out there? That's got to be related somehow. Oh, Basketball Bro in Senior Year? What is this? Oh, chat. Rebel Wilson? Yeah, I guess Rebel Wilson, we'll watch a movie if Rebel Wilson's in it. I'll watch a movie if anybody's in it. If there's a role that says Basketball Bro, it doesn't really matter who's cast in the movie, chat. I'm down. Basketball Bro is like a vague, uncredited as well. He doesn't have a name in the movie. So is he in the background, or is he just on the court at one point and maybe like a missed shot flies out of bounds? And what do we got? Rebel Wilson as a cheerleader here, chat? Like maybe a missed shot, like airballs, flies out of bounds and like hits the cheerleaders in the sideline, and Basketball Bros runs over and is like, you know, like real douchey about it. It doesn't apologize or whatever. I don't know, but something like that. Because Basketball Bro, it's not like, I feel like Basketball Guy, he probably goes over and apologizes, or Basketball Boy chat, but Basketball Bro, maybe he just, you know, I don't feel like there's an apology from Basketball Bro, but I guess we'd have to watch the movie to figure out exactly what the role is there. Oh, Aaron in Atlanta chat. I honestly have not, and like we said, we don't necessarily go back and rewatch TV shows, but I do need to go back and rewatch Atlanta chat. That would be if we're gonna go back and rewatch one, that would be a good one for sure. But, and I guess that's a Hulu show, right? So, you know, just shout out to Hulu, but you know, FX, but where's it stationed at this point? What post do they have Atlanta at in the streaming services chat these days? But Hulu tends to be one that we don't visit enough. But we did just watch Just Right on there with Common and Queen Latifah. So, you know, maybe this time for a Hulu run. Atlanta would definitely be a way to kick that off as well, too. Yeah, chat. But anyways, Tyreek Withers. Shout out. It seems like it's going to be good. You know, him acting next to Marlon Wayans. Chat, if there's anybody that's going to bring out the best acting in Tyreek Withers, it's going to be Marlon Wayans, right? I think. And he did look good in the trailers, so I actually have high hopes for him in this role. Another guy there, it's like the Marlon Wayans. But, like, what's Marlon Wayans' best role, chat? I guess, you know, we don't want to start stepping on anything that might be brought up during the movie as well. Again, if he's acting as good in the movie as he did in the trailers, is it White Chicks, chat? Is that his best role? Mo Money? Oh, Above the Rim, probably. But, or him in Norbit? I guess, you know, what are the best movies that he's been in? Is that the conversation that you have with Marlon Wayans, though? And again, not that Marlon Wayans is a bad, and, you know, I guess, what's the definition of actor, chat? Like, I think if you're successful, you know, don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood, chat, is a pretty iconic role as well, too, for our guy Marlon Wayans. Speaking of rewatches, I feel like is this still on Tubi? This has been like a Tubi classic for a while. So this one's we've definitely watched this one, but we haven't been away. It's definitely played on Tubi when we've fallen asleep with the movie, and it's like in the up next. And like if we've ever fallen asleep to Friday on Tubi, it definitely Don't Be a Menace in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood is played afterwards if it's on Tubi, and then, you know, the next movie is on. But other shows that speaking of other shows, chat, like, I do kind of want to watch Empire as well, too, for this reason, because, you know, for the reason that we mentioned, because every time I wake, it's like the Charmed for NBA TNT games. And I've never, you know, shout out to Charmed or Supernatural, whichever one is running after those games. But I only know them because they're, you know, such dominant presences on the channel, chat. Like, I'm not necessarily ever felt like, you know, checking those shows out in a real way on our own. But with Empire, I don't know if it's like the just us being asleep and it's now like just in our subconscious, so we now like just have to see it. We've been dreaming about Empire because it's just on in the background, so we have to watch while we're awake. But that would be another show that, and, you know, I guess, sorry Atlanta, but we haven't seen Empire yet, so that giving a show a new watch could be fun as well too. Just Terrence Howard, chat. I don't know. I guess more maybe Taraji P. Henson, but yeah, that one's been on quite a bit. And there was a run as well too where there was this. Was it? I want to say Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball. It was like this Henry Fonda, Lucille Ball, Brady Bunch style movie. I forget what that one's called, chat, but we woke up to that one for like a week straight, and it was like, oh well, I guess we've seen this one basically. Just waking up and brushing our teeth, it just stays on, I guess. But yeah, what do we talk? Marlon Wayans' best role, but you know, we were you know, speaking of Friday, we were talking about Chris Tucker in the Friday rewatch, and I feel like maybe more ignorant film people might categorize Chris Tucker, and I guess, you know, we're not saying that Chris Tucker and Marlon Wayans are in, you know, Marlon Wayans is like, oh, way down the list of Chris Tucker. I just think that maybe Chris Tucker has a little bit more range that he's shown in his career at this point. But again, you get Wayans moving into a more dramatic role like this, chat. And I guess we just need to watch Air. So I guess I'm a bad basketball fan, chat. I haven't seen Air yet. I have not seen Air, but I do have I have this thing with Matt. I don't know, chat. Something about Matt. I love Matt Damon. I love younger Matt Damon. Hey, yo, chat. But like those early Matt Damon, I guess this is a better. I like the early Matt Damon movies, and not that his older Matt Damon movies are bad, and he's not. I guess chat. We're trying to. Again, we like Matt Damon here. It's not an anti-Matt Damon segment, but there's something about Matt Damon in a movie where I only see Matt Damon. Like, I don't see the character that he's playing. And Affleck has a little bit of that too as well, so I don't know what it is about those two guys. And again, they're not the most famous actors. They're like major A-list guys as well, but maybe a guy like, and Leo. Now we're actually we're talking about the greatest actors of all time here, Chad. Again, Damon and Affleck are. I feel like, and Damon, well, I don't know. We're not doing the all-time actor list here, Chad. But I feel like guys like Denzel and Leo are a little bit of a step up. But as famous and as high level of actory as those guys are, like, you still see the characters that they play. And again, in the actor conversation, maybe it is what it is. So it's not that Matt Damon's not able to play a character. That's not what I'm saying, chat. Like, he plays great roles. It's just me as a film fan, for some reason, I just like, that's Matt Damon in that part. I don't know what it is, chat. I don't know what it is. But just like, why is Matt Damon acting? Oh yeah, wait a second. Matt Damon's an actor. Why is the guy that's beefing with Jimmy Kimmel in this Oppenheimer movie? Wait a second. That's right. That is Matt Damon's job. So, but like literally Marlon Wayans and Chris Tucker, chat, and Viola Davis is MJ's mom, and it's about the Michael Jordan in the shoe. So I mean, chat, it's like, how have we not seen this? And speaking of Tubi, I think this might be on Tubi right now. So this could be another, chat. Maybe the overnight run will be whatever. Maybe we just actually go ahead and watch that Henry Fonda movie, and then Air is on after that, and then Empire. Though I think if we queue up that Henry Fonda movie, I don't think it'll take us down the rabbit hole of Air and Empire. I think it might be a different rabbit hole of Tubi that it ends up taking us down. But what's even the score here, chat? The Cavs are still keeping the Pacers a little bit of a distance, 46-38. We're locking in, but Key and Peele, like I said, they're definitely a great duo. That movie drops this fall. That is going to be very, very exciting. And the Cavs have their players back as well too. So unlike the Celtics, who chat, like, haven't really had, and I guess they have Porzingis dealing with an injury as well too. But regardless, they didn't have 3 of their 4 best players or 3 of their 5 best players. However you want to mix Allen or however else in the mix, or Ty Jerome, chat. However you want to categorize them in the hierarchy of the team. But you have Garland, or more if we're ranking them, more like Mobley, Garland, and then Hunter, or Mobley, Hunter, and then Garland. But you see, Garland is playing well today, chat. 2 for 5, 1 for 3, 5 points. So really proving his worth with like we were saying, that ranking with the guys that were hurt. Because the thing with Hunter is, he has, of course, unlike Garland. I mean, Garland, of course, is going to be a better playmaker, better distributor, better ball handler. But DeAndre Hunter is just going to give you that switchability and that versatility as well. But he does get a little bit too shot happy at times, where if he was maybe a little bit, but then the aggressiveness is also a good thing. But if he was a little bit more into the 3-and-D stuff, it would be chat. But again, you don't want to just say it would be like a better version of him, but it would be a little bit less stressful maybe on Cavs fans. But Mitchell, 4 for 10, not necessarily the electric shooting numbers that he's had to start, but Miles Turner has been good in this series, chat. It is what it is. Miles Turner is putting up some decent stats. And I mean, tonight as well, too, clearly jumping off the page with 12 of the Pacers' 38 points here in the first quarter and a half-ish. But let's see here, chat. 15-6 on the year. Yeah, look at that. 20 points in 3 of the last 4 games here for the Pacers across a couple of the playoff series. So, yeah, even going back into Milwaukee, chat, as well. Oh, that's to end the regular season there. Into the playoffs. A 6-point game against Milwaukee, 1 for 9. But since then, chat, 20 a game, 8 rebounds, almost 3 blocks a game, 54% from the field, and 41% from 3, spacing the floor. You know, the 8 rebounds, like, you know, plays away from the basket sometimes, so it's not necessarily locked in to be like that double-double guy. But 20 and 8, and he's giving you the 3 blocks, like, that's kind of the thing you want from your centers, chat. And I guess I don't want to be controversial because as I'm looking at Turner here and looking at his performances, and I'm thinking about Jaren Jackson, chat, as a guy who, of course, but the thing is, chat, I'm trying to print this page off. Jaren Jackson gets even less rebounds than that. So is it like, oh, I thought we could open this in a new tab, but maybe not here. We'll just open up a new. Oh, well, I guess we won't, chat. Whatever. Jaren Jackson, we'll just go to the page here. Chat, now I don't even know how to spell the name. It is what it is. But, I mean, he was like the 5.5 rebounds a game this year is pretty crazy. But he gives you that perimeter ability and the defense on from that position on the court. And, you know, like Porzingis as well, too, has definitely that dynamic in his game. But even he, with his physical matchup capabilities, can take some, and you know, he's even a little bit more of probably a better one-on-one scorer than a guy like Jaren Jackson, even a guy like Miles Turner as well too, where you can really pick apart matchups with Porzingis. And I mean, we literally saw him win the title with that formula a little bit last year, Chad. I mean, he was really great in the finals, of course, with the matchups that they had against the Mavericks. But and Jackson as well too, you know, a little bit off that 3-point mark as well. What was he at from? Yeah, unfortunately, you know, his offensive efficiency was just way off for this playoffs. But, you know, the rebounding numbers stayed about the same. Shot 5 rebounds. It is what it is. So there still was some consistency and, you know, a half a block a game. And you see historically the last couple of playoff runs, the blocks and stuff have been, you know, the rebounds, 7.8, almost 8 rebounds a game in 6 games. That's not bad for Jaren Jackson, chat. That's Jaren Jackson playing, that's some of the best rebounding. That's the best rebounding of his playoff career, just in terms of a playoff run, I guess. But that can definitely work from that center position, I think, and be an interesting matchup against this Cavs team as well, too, where, I mean, a lot of the fear factor that happens with the interior of their again, it's the interior of their defense. It's Mobley and it's Allen. It's those guys being presences around the rim. And Mobley's special as well, too, because he can switch out and do all that stuff. And the Cavs are making a run here, chat. 51-38. But we can't trust these teams anymore. We can't trust these teams. I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, 20-point lead. Maybe 2.5 minutes, 20-point lead, and then we're like, okay, the Cavs are probably gonna end up taking this one home. But even like we're saying, the 20-point range at this point, with the way the Knicks were able to even close the gaps and make the games competitive for a lot of the fourth, like the quickness to which they were able to make those comebacks a lot of the times as well too, especially in that game 1, it's like anything is possible in these playoffs. And the Cavs closing out stuff like Mitchell, of course, is, and you know, they're down 2-1 in the series as well too, so it's not just closing out this game. You know, we're back on track with the Mitchell legacy stuff, but he does have great performances in this series as well too, where if he just has the final couple of plays literally to close out these games, they can actually, chat, Keegan-Michael Key breaking into the mansion. I forget what the exact beats of this sketch, but it's some kind of like that Steven Seagal, Chuck Norris. Maybe it's more like Chuck Norris type, actually, because he's got more of a Chuck Norris build, chat, but he's got kind of the shoulder length Chuck Norris-y hair. It's one of those like style breaking into the mansions. But that's why I'm thinking Seagal maybe, because it looks like he's breaking into that like Iron Man 3 type. What I was gonna say, the Mandalorian. He's breaking into the Mandalorian's mansion in Iron Man 3. I don't think that's not the universe that we were in for the MCU, chat. But I think what's his name? Is it the Mandarin? I think that's his name, but also the Orange. So I'm not exactly certain, but I think it was the Mandarin. It was also Ben Kingsley there for a second, and I forget his name as well, because of course he's back in Shang-Chi a little bit later in the MCU, driving him around through the magical forest, chat. And we still haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, but I was thinking about some stuff with this movie, because again, the way the MCU has really, you don't want to say fallen off, chat, because the numbers have, I feel like maybe the box office numbers for the last couple, I guess we'd have to go back and look at like what maybe the Captain America movie did there. But even the conversation around people going to see the movies, like, I mean, again, it translates over into the box office, but the last one that really hit in that type of way wasn't even, of course, attached to the MCU, and as in, I guess, we're as not locked into the last couple of movies. But, you got the Deadpool Wolverine movie was the last, like, real, I guess, and the last moment that the Marvel movie franchise has had in a way. Is it tied into the MCU? We'd have to go actually watch the tapes and figure it out, chat. But with the way that the people have just been talking about, and the anticipation and the conversation of, have you seen this movie? Like, it's been out for a little bit now, and again, there has been some kind of word on the street of like, have you seen the Thunderbolts yet? And not everybody that has been talking about it at least I've talked to has seen it, but there has been an interest in like, oh, this one might actually be good, that the MCU hasn't had for a minute. And I was like, is MCU almost, they're not back to where they were at with Iron Man, because again, with Iron Man, they were literally starting from ground, and not just ground zero from the MCU, they were starting from ground zero from, I guess ground zero, chat. There was some foundational stuff laid for sure, but they were starting at the real basement level for the superhero and the franchisee and all that, And the way it turns into IP and franchise and all that stuff, of course, is a bigger conversation. But just the superhero Marvel character model for those guys being successful on screen in a real commercial and a real critical, and then just all the checkpoints that it ended up hitting, of course, at the peak of its powers. But the way that it has fallen back off to where people don't feel, and I guess that's really the fall off, chat, is, shout out Cole, maybe the album will drop at some point, but the fall off is really been the anticipation, of course, for the people to, and just the need to go see the movies, which is going to be any, movie at the end of the day is going to be based on, a portion of it's going to be based on that just basic dollar number that it's able to generate. Of course, we know that's not the conversation in full. Some award stuff can help prop up a legacy. The after effect, the Tubi afterlife, chat, can help a movie definitely live on as well too. But that initial, number, of course, is definitely going to be a major part of the conversation. But, Marvel is definitely in a spot where they need to build that back up, of course. And Thunderbolts, it is a little bit of that, like, oh, what is going on with the MCU, chat? That little bit of the outside looking in, I guess, that, of course, we just haven't had before, because as an MCU fan, you're locked in, you're just, like, following all, at least, and, just for us as well, too, when it hit just the perfect time as well, too, chat, all through those high school years and stuff, it's, like, awesome stuff to get those movies. But you're just diving into all the Easter eggs and all the what's going to happen next, and the storylines for all the greater stuff. And now, I mean, not to say that I wouldn't get interested in the storylines and stuff again, chat. But again, just the general, like, is this a movie that you need to go see, a one-off movie? And, oh, yeah, by the way, these movies also tie in together into general. And I think that was ultimately the part that wasn't, I don't know if it was miscalculated is the right term, or underrated or whatever, but maybe just not, I guess underrated maybe. But that is why people were going to see the movies, of course, because they were good. And yes, it happened to be that they were all interconnected, but it seemed like that, when planning out like the later phases after Endgame and after all this stuff, and maybe they were trying to work from the place of assuming that they could just make good movies every time, or just assuming that they had kind of already captured, they'd kind of captured everybody's attention in a way. And make no mistake, they definitely had a run off it as well too with the movies that they released afterwards. Like, those movies cleaned up in the box office. But with the, I mean, maybe they were definitely playing off that cachet for a while, but with the, like we're saying, just the anticipation of people needing to go back and see it, there is that building again for this movie, and people are like, oh, there maybe is some quality here again, and people are just going to go see the Thunderbolts because it's a good Thunderbolts movie. And I don't know if this one, like, again, I just am tuned out with the greater story at this point. Maybe it's just too confusing for any people in general to stay locked into. But maybe are we just is this the sign that we're getting old, chat? We're like, the MCU is getting too confusing, and maybe the people that were in our spot when the MCU was forming are like, what are you talking about? The Easter eggs are laid out right in front of you, and it's super obvious. But yeah, like we were saying, of course, just building back up that cachet and that need for people to go in. Oh yeah, and the fact that people were going to see the movies because they were just individually better, and it seemed like they were planning the Marvel universe forward because people were going to see the movies for the greater MCU itself. And not to say that the greater MCU sucks, but it was a nice byproduct of having the movies, and it leveled up the movies from great movies into the mega hits, really, that they were. And we've seen, of course, franchises that don't have the same level. Fast and Furious or whatever, Chad, can still, still pull in a great box office number at the peak of its powers, or, something like Avatar or something, Lord of the Rings. I guess, some of that stuff does have Easter egg type stuff. I just wouldn't know it necessarily the same way. But a franchise can do a big number, of course, but just the consistent, these characters are just going to be these billion-dollar films every time. To the point where the Solo movies are supposed to be billion-dollar films. Like, that was the team up at one point, chat. Like, the Avengers movie, it's like the Avengers movie made $1 billion. Like, this is a success. And by the time we're getting to Endgame and Infinity War and all that stuff, it's like, Black Panther's $2 billion. I think that got to $2 billion, maybe just under. Maybe Captain Marvel was $2 billion as well too, chat. But it's like these Solo movies just need to be in the $1 billion mark almost every time. And I guess that's again like such an unreasonable standard. Probably not even a standard that was actually in effect. But even still, just to be like, oh yeah, every movie we're gonna put out is just gonna be $600 to $900 million every single time is. The way you're able to have that level of consistent power is because of the combination of things. Again, you're going to go see anybody. Well, in an ideal world, anybody's going to go see a good movie, and also you're getting this greater universe attached to it, which is going to level up your interest sort of outside the game and keep you attached, and maybe increase the merch and the spending in the, again, built out the universe of it. But the universe is still going to be built around, at least from the cinematic standpoint, built around the fact that the cinematic stuff is quality. And that is, again, it just seems like some of the stuff for Thunderbolts is good. And it's like, oh yeah, we might actually just need to go see a good movie. Just, a stack people. I mean, the cast, chat, you're telling me Sebastian Stan, Florence Pugh, and David Harbour are an action movie together? Like, it's definitely a good selling point. And then, characters that we are actually familiar with as well too, like Winter Soldier, like we're saying, Florence Pugh with her attachment to the Black Widow stuff, and then Taskmaster I'm pretty sure Taskmaster's in this one, right, chat? I think as long as they give Taskmaster the proper runtime, I think always super cool. Good hit rate, chat, for Taskmaster, I think, in appearances. But yeah, Thunderbolts does seem like it's going to be a good, at least when it hits Disney Plus, chat, it'll be a good time to watch it then. That'll be a fun watch. Matherin attacking the basket, flying in, drawing the foul. Indiana, do they make a run here to close the second quarter, first half? Or do they wait till the end of the game again? They're like, we can't do this, chat. We can't play a close game the entire time. What are we doing here? We're the Pacers. We got to make these comeback leads. 16 points, a minute 20. Mitchell slashing, left-handed, cannot be stopped. Miles Turner is not getting one of his 3.5 blocks or 2.5 blocks, whatever, per game right there. I guess he's not even on the court right now. But Siakam for 3. The Pacers playing a little small. I guess Thomas Bryant in the game right now, chat. He is kind of more obviously center-like. So I don't necessarily say if Thomas Bryant's your 5, you're running the small ball lineup. But and Siakam is the 4. But Mathurin, Neesmith, Halliburton, it's a spread the floor lineup for sure. I mean, the Pacers are definitely more of a perimeter team in general. They're usually the Cavs, of course, double bigs. Pacers more of a one center max. And like we're saying, even Thomas Bryant's got a little. I feel like at least maybe he's tried in the past to have a little 3-point element in his game. And I love the fact that he's in this series, Chad. Shout out to Thomas Bryant. I love him getting playoff minutes and potential chance to prove himself a worthy player in the league. Always been a guy that is this a pro Thomas Bryant pod, Chad? Make no mistake. Make no mistake. He would be on our expansion team. We would be drafting Thomas Bryant, I think. Maybe not, first, second pick, but he's in the mix, Chad. He's in the mix. I don't know if me and Sam are going to get dueling expansion franchises, but I mean, would they pit the Rem and Sam pod against each other like that, Chad? They're like, okay, I guess with Sam would definitely take Seattle, Chad. Sam would take Seattle. I mean, I guess LeBron, is he going to be full owner, or does he get the sort of Dwayne Wade, Jay-Z honorary owner type role, or is he going MJ, like controlling piece, controlling stake in this Vegas expansion franchise? Or is LeBron going to get the Dallas expansion franchise when the Mavericks move to Vegas? And then, but you would assume that it would be still like the Mavs just move, which, to be honest, I don't understand why that. I don't understand that makes sense. I guess it would be to get that ownership group located specifically in Vegas, but it still is like, is there just an easier way to do this than phrasing it like relocating the Mavericks franchise in Dallas? I guess because otherwise you'd have to start, again, with titles and branding and stuff like that. You'd have to start selling it off in fees and stuff. But just like, you can't just say like, hey, you're going to take the Vegas group. There's going to be some kind of, not like, you're going to have to pay like $2 billion in a transfer fee. We're not saying that, but maybe, $10 million, $15 million, $20 million transfer fee where they just take the Vegas new expansion, because that's what's going to happen anyways. Like we're saying, they're going to get the franchise in Vegas if they move Dallas, and it's going to be a brand new start. Dallas is going to be like Seattle. They're not going to move the Dallas history to Vegas. That wouldn't make any sense. Dirk's statue is going to be sitting on the Las Vegas Strip, chat. Like maybe the Mavs ownership group at this point, they might be crazy enough to put like a replica Dirk statue in the Vegas Strip just because it's Vegas, and again, it's this Dallas ownership group that traded Luka. But for what the iconic Dallas franchise has been there, is like they're not going to move that history elsewhere. I mean, the NFL, of course, literally the Colts moved from Indy to Baltimore, and they did take some of the Baltimore history with them. But that is honestly, like, the Colts are, I think, maybe a more rare example. I guess we'd have to go like through expansion relocation history, because you do, Vegas, you do have the Raiders bouncing around a little bit. And chat, there is a, whatever sketch that was for Key and Peele right there, there was a soft serve machine in the mix. Hey, yo, we might actually have to hit up like an Orange Leaf or something at some point. Do you guys have, is that like a nationwide brand? That's like the, not like this, I guess we're doing hipster corner here, chat, but that's like the frozen yogurt instead of the ice cream chain. Because I guess, it's really just take your pick. Again, you can just hit, we're not sitting here being like, we're going to be healthy, not eating ice cream. Like, it's all the same, chat. But, it's just take your pick on what style you like better. Do you like the ice cream? Do you like the frozen yogurt? Are you a gelato person? You going for some sorbet? Sorbet's fine, but sorbet's not, it's a little too icy. It's borderline, it's not borderline slushy, but it's getting there, Chad. If you melted down sorbet a little bit, you're basically in slushy territory, which is sounding pretty good. But also, your boy's a frozen yogurt, man. What can you say? It's perfect. You start just doing the breakdown on ice cream, and it's gonna be pause central, Chad. So we're just gonna say that we're supporters, and we're gonna keep it moving. But that Key and Peele sketch also got us thinking about that. So the Cavs were able to get to 21, chat, at half, so they've crossed the danger zone. The Cavs are officially in the danger zone. What's the win percentage? 96.8. Uh-oh, chat. This is not good. We've been here before. We know what this means. What were the win percentages at their peaks in the other series? Is this like the most aggressive one? Does the win percentage in each game get more based on the last game? They're like, okay, it's even less likely that they give up the lead now. Again, just the math and all this. We're not saying that it is actually less likely, which I guess maybe the math should figure that in there, chat. Okay, there's the Pacers actually with the win percentage lead there at the end, of course, but not just the end of the game, but even with 2 minutes, I guess Indiana did have the lead, chat. Oh, I guess did they? Is this a little bit? We're getting the games jumbled around in our mind, chat, but or no, we're in game one. I'm trying to think about game two, but I'm looking at game one. Okay, yeah, so we're in game one here, and the Cavs' highest win percentage would have been, I guess they wouldn't have gotten out to the 90 plus at halftime. So what would it have been in game two, chat? Let's see here. The one that might actually be a little bit more replicable of what we were seeing tonight. Chat, we see it peaking. 98.1 with 6 seconds left in the third. So here we go. Like maybe around halftime. Yeah, halftime at the last game, it was 87%. I guess it was only 10 at halftime last time. So they did push that lead more. Yeah, so I guess when the lead, was larger, but it was still, and we're pushing it into the fourth quarter at that point. But I think win probability is just a bad stat, chat, and not just that it's a useless stat. I just think it's whatever the calculations are in for. Oh, here we go. Is this just a better way to? Oh, chat. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, this is so much better to see it displayed. Look at the Pacers just like, yep, just a little bit right here, and then just I guess spikes the end. We're looking at it backwards, of course, but there we go. But yeah, so midway through the third, 96.4, maybe to try to find a proper time to score to probability correlation. So they were up by 17 with 7:10, 96.4. So the actual peak probability would have been, what do we got here, Chad? 95? Okay, so that still would have been, 97? Oh, why can't we find it again, Chad? We're 97.4, 48 seconds left, up by 7, 97.4. See, Chad, that just 97.4? If you had asked me, okay, these two teams, Cavs are up by 7 points with 48 seconds left. Again, it's 2025. The three-pointers, you're like, what's the probability that they win this game? I'd probably honestly take 10 points off of that. Maybe more in the 87 range, where almost 9 out of 10 times that they're winning that. But, a team, and again, I guess the stats are what they are. So it's going through NBA history and it's pulling up all these scenarios. But what are also, is it calculating the times where it all, the team almost made the comeback and then got the last shot, it was a good look and just missed the look? And it's well, okay, the team survived, or they made they brought the game back, pushed it to overtime like the Knicks did against the Celtics, but maybe lost to the team in overtime. So again, it's just in the practicality of once you get in that point, because, and I mean, obviously, Chad, obviously the stats don't calculate for the actual players on the court, but there needs to be a way to filter that in, where it's okay, we get to this spot in the game, and if you're down by 3 with 20 seconds left, it's kind of, and maybe the probability would be 50-50. Well, I guess here, what do we got? 20 seconds left in the game. Okay, so 35 seconds left. Yeah, 35 seconds left, down by 5. 90%. I guess you're a little off of the 97. You're not quite at 100% of the time they're winning this game. But still, it's there's not the couple of scenarios we're saying where the guy just hits the 3 and has the turnover. It feels slightly flawed, Chad. And it's not a hot take, but it's just people are looking at it the idea of a win probability stat is bad. And maybe it is, Chad, like we're saying. Maybe it just, that's what's brilliant about basketball is you can't, and it's, why you have to watch the games, because, the players are going to make the crazy plays that you just can't calculate for. But the whatever the math is, like we're saying, into win probability, it needs to be looked into, chat. Somebody needs to get behind the curtain, get JJ Redick back in the drawing board, and see if he can figure out what is wrong with win probability. What does the Pythagorean theorem have to do with win probability, chat? Maybe somebody can do the calculation between the Fibonacci sequence. Does Fibonacci have anything to do with win probability? I don't know. E equals MC squared equals 85.5% to win a game in the second quarter. Maybe there's something that Oppenheimer can look at for this game, chat, and figure out if there's some improvements to be made. But I mean, and maybe it is more right than not. Again, that's what's so historic about these playoffs is it's win probability. Like if we looked at like win probability, it's not even saying that it's going to be 100% right. So, it's the AI bot would probably look back at us and be like, hey, I did the math. Like I am actually right 97% of the time. You're just looking at the 3 times I'm wrong. But I refuse to believe it, chat. I refuse to believe it. The next prompt would be like the AI bot, you're wrong. Go back into the lab and calculate it until you get a number that proves our theory, chat. And then that's when probably the bots, take over mankind, and then people are on Mars and talking about what happened on Earth, and they're like, oh yeah, the REMINGTOM pod made Chat GPT mad, and now all of a sudden we're sitting on a different planet. But I don't know if it'll, hopefully it doesn't go down exactly like that, chat, because obviously we wouldn't want to be a source of it. Hey yo, I'm stumbling just thinking about us causing that type of damage with the AI bots. But yeah, chat, halftime, Cavs up 20. So this is the type of night that we're in for. It's at any point in the game, I feel like it's not, pins and needles, but it's like, okay, are we getting the historic night? What's going to happen? Because even the next game is really like that. Like Boston, if this was like another Boston-New York game tonight, we could definitely, of course, see the Boston, again, storm out to the 20-point lead. Like them having that type of capability is not surprising, which of course is, why them having a 2-0 deficit in the lead is such a bummer for the series as well. But the Nuggets, of course, are definitely like, yeah, they could get taken down by 40, or they'll win the game by 1 point. It'll be the most dramatic game in NBA history. And like we're saying, maybe that's the scripted. Either that's scripted, or that's proof that the league isn't scripted, chat. But yeah, I guess either way, we'll go to break and we'll figure it out. We'll crunch the numbers and we'll get back to you on the other side, chat. Second half coming up. Okay, chat, we're back. Second half is underway, and there is a couple of things that I was thinking about that I wanted to mention. But before the Pacers make the storm back here, chat, in the fourth quarter, I guess, if it were to happen tonight. And again, they have 2 road games to make it 3-1. Like, both of these teams are going to go whatever to whatever on the road. I mean, what were the series odds for that, chat? I mean, I feel like we literally are probably the reason for this chaotic playoff now that I think about it, because when we were looking at the preview odds for this second round, we were trying to think along the lines of like some logical series. You know, a couple of home teams win here. You know, they split here, then this team wins game 7 at home. You know, very practical outcomes. But it's like, no, everything's going to be dramatic, 20-point deficits, and the road teams are going to be winning, and the underdogs are going to be the ones advancing once again at the playoffs. Like, it's just going to be crazy. I mean, Siakam from the mid-range, check, closing it to 22. Has it started? Oh, wait a second. The ESPN's ahead of us, so... Once again, what's the difference this time, chat? We've got, we're still sitting at about 35 seconds. So that one time it was like 15 seconds. Was like, you know, we should have really have pause, but we should really have savored that while we had the, we'll just keep it moving. But, there we go, chat. They've cut it to 20. I guess once again, they're still at us. Okay, we'll remember that this time. But, yeah, anyways, a couple of things I was thinking about at work today, which maybe we shouldn't have been, because make no mistake, I think if we had field goal percentages for restaurant performances, we probably would have had a very Jason Tatum field goal like percentage chat for today. But I guess Jason Tatum, maybe it's part of the reason we were thinking about it, because again, just with these deficits and with the teams, the underdogs winning the way that they have, and again with the Celtics being the defending champions as well too, there's just a lot to consider when you're looking at them down 2-0 in the second round. And a lot of the teams as well too, like we were looking back at some of those defending champions that have gotten eliminated early, and there's definitely been good matches. I think, you know, the Nuggets Timberwolves matchup, I don't know if it's so far off from when the Timberwolves eliminated the Nuggets last year, versus, because again, the Nuggets would have been defending the title last year versus now we're 2 years removed from it. But yeah, you guys are locked in. But I don't, just in terms of the matchup stuff, and you look at, and again, I guess even that Nuggets team had lost some guys because you don't have Brown, or you don't have, and maybe I'm not even locked in, Chad. Did they lose Brown and KCP in the same offseason, or one offseason apart? I think they might have even lost. I don't know, Chad. We already can't remember. Again, the league leader in wrong CDs and cases here, Chad. History all jumbled on the Rim and Sam pod. But with people talking about the Celtics, of course, the conversation being brought up now is, how does this series reflect on them winning the title last year? And, you know, Chad, I think there's so much dialogue in sports, and I'm not like, I guess in some ways it's like, you know, it'd be nice to like, hey, can we clean up some of the stuff here in the sports media? But, you know, for a lot of it as well too, that's, again, in a I guess respectful, delicate way, like just talking about, just in general, the results that happen in the games, whatever they may be, and for whatever side, again, it's just part of the conversation of the game. So there are times where, in closed doors, on a couch in a living room, in a, you know, the classic barbershop chat, in the sports talk show host desk, like there's going to be times when there's dramatic versions of the conversation, and there's going to be times when there's, you know, I'm saying reasonable, like low key, like however there's just the multiple versions of the conversation going to be had, of course, in whatever platform. But I don't want to necessarily look at this individual year and go, it takes away from like a total title run in a sense. Because again, you look at each title year to year, of course, and the fact that we haven't had a team ascend to the consistent sort of year-to-year dominance. And like we were saying, even the teams getting eliminated in the second round as well, too, where these teams aren't necessarily getting back to the finals and losing, or they're getting to the conference finals. It's like they're so close, getting like whatever. Like, you know, a lot of early exits for the champions that we've had the last couple of years. But that doesn't necessarily, I think, invalidate the runs that they had, whether the reasons are more chaotic in the past couple of years than they've been in the past could be part of it. But regardless, like, these guys are still winning the title, and you still have to have awesome performances in individual games. And the Celtics, again, as a team, it's being really dissected what happened last year. Is the title real? Did they win the title? And I think that's almost a little bit of a two-sided conversation as well, too, because we can't be looking at, and again, the Pacers are down 22 points right now, chat, but we can't be looking at the Pacers on one side competing in a playoff series and going, they're validating themselves as a playoff opponent when the Celtics won over them in the conference championship last year to get to the finals, but then we're looking at the Celtics on the other side being like, hey, the Celtics are invalidated. Like, maybe it's, are the Pacers getting better and the Celtics getting worse? Like, I'm not necessarily saying that. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that that's not true either. But, it's not like one team. I guess, it's just like, there maybe just what's the consistency with the conversation. But what I was thinking about, chat, with the title run that they had is, does this season make sense for some of the award stuff the way it played out last year? And the dialogue with Tatum winning the conference MVPs and the we can't believe we mentioned the conference MVPs first, Jeff, but the finals MVPs and the ones that Jaylen Brown ended up getting instead of that spot where, and again, the conversation becomes a lot of times, is the quote unquote best player on the team the one deserving of those awards. But again, you do have to look at a series, and I think it becomes interesting to look back in history with that stuff. Like, if you're looking at it compared to the Iguodala one, chat, like, obviously Brown's role on the team was a little bit different than Iguodala. He was important even more offensively in the finals than he was for that team in the regular season. But Jaylen Brown, of course, was still more important offensively for the Celtics in the finals than Iguodala was, chat. And Iguodala, of course, it was the two-way aspect of it that was important as well. Jaylen Brown is also a great two-way player when he's locked in on both sides. But a lot of the part that, of course, was interesting with that and the Steph not winning it is Steph is, and again, I'm not trying to disrespect Tatum here, chat, when I'm saying this, but Steph is undeniably one of those legendary players. And I guess, again, he continued to prove that over the next couple of years. In that moment, it was still on the rise, and it was still like the world is in front of Steph Curry. But then, and of course, they get Kevin Durant. He still teetered on some legacy stuff. He had the 3-1 in the finals, of course, and it was, we're still now even looking back. I'm saying this now in 2025 after he ended up winning the finals MVP in 2022. And it's like, hey, for Tatum at the end of the day, like Steph Curry, that was 8 seasons between those finals MVPs before we could sit here and just, not have to worry about anything in that conversation with Steph Curry. And like you see Steph with the way the Warriors are playing this year in the finals or in the playoffs without him, and the way that they were playing with him, of course, like he just even continues to validate in the second round of the playoffs all of the stuff that he has done over the past. And Tatum, again, I'm not saying is Tatum rewriting himself. Like, Tatum is a championship level player. That's undeniable, chat. He has won a title. He played awesome in games that mattered. And I was going back and looking at the stats because I was trying to think, like, he just hasn't played well now consistently over a lot of playoffs. But the Celtics team was a team that had a great starting five, a great rotation of guys that they could put out there that could all get shots and play defense and the switchability and the 3-point stuff. Like, and again, Tatum himself played really well at the end of the finals, and even was in the conversation as he could have been the finals MVP for that series. But Jaylen Brown was, of course, awesome in that series. And does that speak more to what this team needs to be to win the finals? And I'm not saying, again, there's a version where Tatum, I think, ascends into those levels of throwing the team on his back and I'll do everything. I'll score the points. I'll play make. I'll defense. I'll, everything it takes to win a game. I'll play at the highest level in all aspects and carry the team. And it doesn't really, I've got it, guys. Like, he can definitely get to that level. I'm not saying he can't, but just, again, in terms of the guys that consistently do it every time in the playoffs, like, is that more actually reflective of what that playoff run was? Again, this is not like, oh, it's illegit, but the idea that those guys around Tatum ascended as well too. And again, it's I'm trying to, we're still elevating everybody's legacies here, chat, but it's like, I think the idea of a lot of times is what, like we were saying, is was that run reflected properly in the award stuff that was handed out later? And Iguodala was great as well too in that finals. Like, we're not retroactive, I guess, in a way the conversation has been had, Chad. But is it reflective of the fact of what that team was for that run and how that team played in the finals? And again, Steph was awesome offensively in some of those finals, and you go back and watch and you look at the stats and you're like, yeah, you know what? Steph was, I mean, it's not even like a, an admission chat, but it's like Steph was the best player on the team, of course, all year at historic level, and in the finals was also the best player as well. And again, you can make that case for Tatum with the way that he was playing the complete game. But I mean, you literally look in this finals chat, or in this playoff series, with the way that the games have had, and again, I'm not turning this around and like, are we blaming Jaylen Brown for the games? But again, you look at the Tatum numbers in the playoffs last year, offensively, Tatum was not that efficient of a player. So there is a formula for them to win these games. And again, the Tatum has to have some good games in the series for them to win, 4 out of 7. But there is a formula for them to win with Tatum not having efficient play all the time. And it's because they have a great team around him. And again, as a team, you look at some of the numbers and they haven't necessarily played up to that level, of course, all 5 that they have last year. And Jaylen Brown, as a way to sort of reflect the elevation of everybody, I think, and looking back, it's like, like that might actually age in a decent way, chat. Like the Malcolm Smith Super Bowl MVP is an interesting one that I always think of for the Seahawks, because I'm not necessarily like, I guess I would have to go back and look. I'm trying to think, did like Cam Chancellor or one of the safeties or something have maybe like a great, I think Cam Chancellor had a great game. That again, it's a tough game for the Manning fans to go back and revisit. So it's not necessarily one that I queue up the highlights, or if it's if it's on Pluto TV, it's not necessarily like, ooh, let's lock in for this Super Bowl rerun. But I think Cam Chancellor had a great Super Bowl as well too. But the idea of a defensive guy winning the Super Bowl MVP, of course, is totally fitting, even though it may not necessarily be the best defensive player on that team. Like, and there's obviously all-time great, again, like Sherman's an all-time great corner, but that was the Legion of Doom, and we remember that group more as a collective. And again, the personalities do stand out. Sherman's a personality. Cam Chancellor is just as the foot, like one of just the absolute most, I don't even want to say like football nerd or like football fan type guys, but I just like, if you watch the games, chat, everybody loved watching Cam Chancellor play. Like he's just one of those guys you'd want to have on your team. And Earl Thomas as well too. Like just Bobby Wagner, chat, all throughout. I'm trying to remember even some of was like Michael. Did they have a Bennett on the defensive line, chat? They had Bruce Irvin on the defensive line as well too. But of course it was more the Legion of Doom secondary and some of the linebacker stuff. I guess Irvin could technically be like a 3-4 linebacker in a sense. But again, it's not like they had what's the crazy Revis season, chat? And again, they had an insane Sherman season. Sherman's right up there with all the great cornerbacks in history for sure. But it's not like they had that crazy Steph Curry season where he's awesome and does the historic breakout thing and starts to shift the game from the three-point standpoint and has the best team in the rank. It was the collection of the high-end talent. And then, Malcolm Smith maybe didn't have the Pro Bowls and the All-Pros that the same guys had, but, one of the guys on the defense stepped up and had a great Super Bowl and was awarded in that moment. And, looking offensively as well, I guess, not to pick on the Seahawks, but that's, again, an interesting, or that Tampa Bay Super Bowl as well, too, where, like, the quarterback in that Super Bowl, it's not like there's other guys that, again, even on that season, but went on afterwards. Like, I guess, shout out to Russell Wilson, chat, but if Russell Wilson, and maybe Russell Wilson wins the Super Bowl MVP in that second Super Bowl, and it kind of, like, rewrites his legacy in the same way, but, if he wins the Super Bowl and I guess, with his performance in the game, it was such a defensive game as well, too, but it's not like looking back like, oh, how did, again, all due respect, chat, but it's not like you're looking back like, oh, how did Russell Wilson not win the Super Bowl MVP? Like one of those like 10 great, you get what we're saying here, chat. We're talking about a great quarterback in Russell Wilson in the history stuff. So it's not like a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a championship level quarterback. So we're not, again, taking that level away from him. But there's the level after that as well, too, that we're saying that. And of course, and maybe now we're just in a long way of dancing around it, chap. I was like actually just doing the Tatum storylines that everybody else is doing. But is it more of that storyline, like we're saying, where it's the collective effort? And I'm not comparing this team to the Pistons team in a sense, because I think Tatum, of course, as an individual player, like we're saying, has the ability to ascend and do more on a basketball court than I think anybody on those Pistons teams with, and I guess I should clarify, like the Pistons teams in the 2000s with Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace and the Wallace brothers, Rasheed and Prince and all those guys. Yeah, Darko Milicic on that team as well too, Chad. But people forget Darko Milicic, NBA championship. So maybe the pick did work out, Chad. Carmelo, people always say like Carmelo and Wade, they would have been additive. But what if they take away Chad? I guess we know that wouldn't happen. Bad take, IT, take it out. It is what it is. But we're shooting a Tatum field goal percentage with takes with that one, Chad. But because we're pro Melo, so I don't even want to get that take start. I'm like, get that one out of the air, Chad. We don't like that. The idea of Carmelo Anthony take away from that Piston. His scoring only would have been an additive, and yeah, he just would have been a great addition to any like legendary team, chat. But I mean, that's another team as well too that went to like the conference championship quite a bit. They made another finals as well too, and they lost to, another legendary team as well. They lost to the Spurs, chat. Lost to Duncan. Again, like the Celtics lost to Curry in their finals. And, the Pistons team maybe even took down a little bit of a bet. That Shaq and Kobe team were they in a little bit of a different phase. But still, Shaq and Kobe again probably. Well, I guess we'll see with Luka. But, Kyrie as well, too, would be the fourth player on that list. Either way, Shaq and Kobe, of course. And, at this point, I guess Luka is still the third guy on that list. We're just saying. And is he going to get to Shaq Kobe levels, chat? Like, not writing off the table. We're just saying that's like, now he's a top 10 player of all time. So it's not something that we're putting down in pen anyways at this point. It's not a doubt to Luka Doncic. It's just, we'll respect the legacy of the great players while we can. Because, if it is Luka Doncic, like, even if he has a long career, Chad, I guess it's still, he's been in the league for, 7 years at this point. So if he plays 20 seasons, we're talking about 13 years. And is he going to be the 10th best player on that 20th year if he plays 20 years? So, again, hey, if the legacy run is happening here, chat, like Shaq's time in the top 10 is close, so we gotta make sure that we honor him in the top 10. Nah, just Shaq, shout out, of course, but like I'm saying, hey, maybe the legends the rankings can shift over courses of years, where like all of a sudden now, it's crowded. What's Durant doing up here? What's Giannis doing up here? What's Jokic doing up here? Like we're saying, Luka's on the rise. If Halliburton keeps making these runs, Chaz Halliburton going to be off on the list. Like, we don't know how crazy stuff's going to get. But, again, in the moment, it's like that finals MVP was criticized in the way that some of those other role player final, quote-unquote role player final MVPs haven't had. Or, I guess like the Lakers team from the 80s, of course, won multiple finals. But you have one where, like, James Worthy wins the finals in there. Didn't JoJo White win a finals MVP for the Celtics one year? So maybe that's one where just like, and again, I think JoJo White's a Hall of Famer too, so I'm not writing anything off the table, so maybe it's just my own ignorance, chat. But any series with like Bird and McKay, it's just how great the Celtics team was, where again, it's proof that whatever his quote unquote hierarchy on the team would have been, his level of player would have been the guy that could also ascend to finals MVP level. I guess, should we look that one up, chat, real quick? But, and again, with Tatum, this legacy stuff, like, we can talk about it in the moment because it's fun. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. But, of course, he has to have his whole career to make these moments and to have opportunities and match up stuff and for things to fall into place as well, too. As much as it's going to be Tatum ascending and being consistent in these moments and all that stuff, like, it's also going to be for any run, it's going to be the right stuff and the right pieces and the right team and the right performances around you and everything like that, chat. But yeah, what is it? 75-76. So maybe this would have been a little bit earlier, chat. Okay, so this maybe is making a little bit more sense. 20th in MVP voting this year. So 4th team All-NBA, maybe. 2nd team All-NBA the year before. So he's in this mix, chat. No MVP votes, but hovering in that top 15 range for players in the league. So maybe kind of similar to where Jaylen Brown was at the time. So was this the Cowens finals team? Won against the Suns in 6. Yeah, Cowens in year 5 and Havlicek in year 13, putting up 17 a game. Still 2nd team All-NBA that year. Cowens 3rd in MVP voting, but also 2nd team All-NBA, 1st team All-Defense for our guy Dave Cowens. Charlie Scott, 17.5 points a game as well too, chat. I mean, JoJo White was 19 and 5.5 assists. Dave Cowens 19 and 16, chat. And Havlet or Paul Silas 10 and 12, a sneaky 10 and 12, 14th, and not even sneaky, a recognized 14th in MVP voting. He's leading the league in offensive rebound that year. Don Nelson on the team as well too, I guess. But what were you? Oh yeah, JoJo White, chat. Cowens. Did Cowens get a Finals MVP at all? Maybe. So maybe not, chat. League MVP in 72-73. Of course, 75 team, two-time champ. So, did Havlicek get the Finals? Oh, I guess here we'll go to back to Cowens' page and see where that other ring was. Did Cowens get the ring or the Finals MVP in the other year? So that would have been, because we looked at 75, 76. So 73, 74. Milwaukee in 7. So that would have, not Giannis, chat, but Kareem Lalcinder, I guess. We'll have the name change on here all lined up. It's Kareem, so I guess it would have been probably listed as Lou Alcindor when it was, chat. Oh, no, it's just going to be probably listed as Kareem the whole time. Was he 69? Or he just changed it, very early into the league. Oh, yeah, no, it's just going to be listed as Kareem the whole. I guess, that's probably the best way to say it. But let's see here, chat. Seeing as how, that is his name. Shout out to the legendary guy. But where we at? 73, 74. No, wait, yeah. We were at that one there with Milwaukee because they won the Finals this year. So did Cowens? Yeah, so Havlicek, a 26, 7 and 4.5 assists. Cowens was 22 and 9. Similar free throw percentages or field goal percentages, so again, Havlicek, his legendary stats, it's not like he doesn't get one. And I don't think Cowens' legacy is, Chad, is that, when was the last time you guys were debating about whether or not Dave Cowens should have won a Finals MVP? Like, I think the man's probably doing okay with the all-time stuff. Again, all 75 team, like, he's recognized as one of the great players in NBA history. But it's like, hey, he didn't get one in there, and pause. And I don't believe JoJo White, is JoJo White all 75? Chad, he might be. I'm not writing it off. No, he 2-time All-NBA, 7-time All-Star. So yeah, again, one, probably a Hall of Fame resume, even if he doesn't have a Finals MVP in there. And just being a part of a Celtics team where 2 finals, being a part of 2 finals teams is definitely just going to help that in general. 20-point a game score in multiple playoff runs across multiple playoffs. So I guess, those early days as well, too. The scoring was even better. So, yeah, better playoff performer than regular, or, 23 a game in the regular season, I guess, in 71-72. In the playoffs, 23.5, 72-73. He was 19 a game in the regular season that year, and then just jumped up to 24 a game in those 13. 16 a game, though, in the year that they won the Finals. So, I guess for the playoffs, that's like his worst playoffs on paper. Or I guess, no, here we go, chat. We're blind. His Finals MVP is down here. Ayo. But the other Finals run is like, okay, his worst MVP, or his worst just statistical run, I guess. But, yeah, anyways, it's like, hey, I think, and shout out Jaylen Brown was awesome as well, too, for those playoffs. So it was, again, I think reflective of what that run was. So I was just curious, it's just going to be curious to see how that one ages as well, too, as these guys' careers play out. Because, I don't want to get too dramatic here, chat, but, I mean, we saw what the reports were about this team going into the offseason, even before we got to this round of the playoffs, where it's like, hey, this team is probably going to be mixed up a little bit when we wrap up this playoff run, whenever that may be. So if it's like pretty successful and you feel like you just missed it, you're like, okay, we're still obviously at this title contending team with this roster. Like, you're not going to want to make too many drastic changes. Like, obviously there's going to be a couple of the contracts that are split up and money's going to be saved and all that stuff. But you're still keeping 4 of the 5 main pieces or making a move for something that's like really, really beneficial, but close enough from a player standpoint where you're not really losing too much in the hierarchy. But if, again, you get bounced in the second round by a New York team like this, a great New York team, a great New York team matchup for the Celtics as it's turning out. In the fourth quarters anyways. But this is definitely the type of result that could lead to this team to do something really chaotic. So at the end of the day, you know, Chad, I don't think they would trade any of the two star guys, but would it be totally shocking if they moved anybody else in the roster? I mean, I guess at this point, probably not, but even going into the offseason, it wouldn't have been totally surprising if... I mean, again, the next best player on the team is probably Porzingis when they're all healthy, so if they had moved Porzingis in the offseason, I don't think that would have been, you know, Derek White, maybe trade value-wise, is probably the third on the team, so... You know what? Maybe if you want to start getting basketball nerdy about it, you probably could make an argument for him at second as well too, with some of the contract stuff into play. But you know, Jaylen Brown, of course, his one-on-one creation ability, the upside of that is why he gets the big bucks, Chet. And again, it's the reason that proves that when he is firing offensively, again, it's literally a championship level stuff because he is the Finals MVP and they won the championship. But it's the type of result that could lead you to do something kind of drastic as well, too, which, I mean, the new ownership group is already, you know, a red flag sign for that. But, and again, like Tatum, are they going to trade Tatum? Are they going to bring in Nico Harrison and get some advice from him? You know, trading Tatum would seem drastic. It would seem a little too drastic. But... And, you know, trading Brown, I'm not saying it's even realistic that there's something that's just going to work together for all the right stuff. Because you're going to need something pretty crazy in return. I know there's probably a team that's definitely willing to pay a chap. But you're like, okay, are we going to go through all the worries of trying to get the mechanics of a Jaylen Brown trade to save some money and get some future stuff when it's like we have Tatum and Brown and we know that team can win a finals together? Like, I think, once again, I would lean to just upside of those guys together. But I think it could be a validating series for, again, people are like, is it a invalidating series for last year's final run? But not validating that they just got on a hot streak last year. But it's like, this is the formula for this team to win. And I think that, you know, are we putting Tatum in that same spot where Curry was? Because again, like, people were like, oh, Curry needs that finals MVP from a legacy standpoint. I'm not sitting up here and saying Tatum needs a finals MVP from a legacy standpoint. Of course, if he continues to add these accolades to his legacy, it's going to make it comparable to other guys on the list in a way that, you know, it might not have been before. But again, the individual, what is the ultimate upside version of this, and did we actually get to see it? Like, and again, have we seen the ultimate upside version of it where he plays his absolute best basketball in the finals? And it's like, and you know, even any player, I guess, again, those are the special guys where you even have to get back to the finals a couple of times to have those moments. Like, you know, LeBron, I guess those Heat finals were definitely like peak LeBron against the Thunder and against the first Spurs year. But, you know, it was that 2016 finals against the Cavs with the Cavs against the Warriors, where he had that Andre Iguodala block and he had that like real signature moment himself, because obviously, you know, he had other players on his team with some big signature moments before that in Miami. But yeah, I mean, you know, even he had to make a couple runs at the finals. Like, I guess MJ had like that hand switch layup highlight in that Lakers finals, which was that first one. So, you know, he had some, and that's like a different type. That'd be like a, you know, a poster type dunk or something. I mean, LeBron obviously had that type of stuff in the first couple of finals as well too. So, you know, I guess MJ's like real, if we're talking about like what is honestly the iconic MJ moment, and maybe it's just because it's the, you know, the ultimate crescendo, chat. Another dictionary search. Did we say that? But I guess we probably shouldn't have done that afterwards as well too. But pause that whole thing, chat. But you know, another lookup of a definition, chat, because I think that's like, but you know, another like ultimate, I guess we can't say climax right now either, chat, but another ultimate just moment of his career was that finals moment against the Jazz when he has the buzzer beater and the quote unquote, you know, we call it a push off with love now, chat. It's a term of endearment to the play. It's not, we're not sitting here saying it was an offensive foul. It's just a way to describe what happened. The push off play against Byron Russell. I think, is that the name? Because Byron Allen is the talk show guy. But is it Brian Russell, or I think it's Byron Russell, right, chat? Yeah, our guy Byron Russell. So, and again, it's like the final moment, the last dance. It's this perfect ending of this career, but it is also, and it's how dominant he was. I guess the other moment before that too would have been the shrug. We're leaving the shrug out of there because he was at the peak of his powers at that point. It's like MJ is just so good that he's literally just shrugging in the finals. Was he going for the 3-peat or the 2-peat at that point? Because shout out, chat, that would have been against the Blazers and Clyde Drexler. So what year was Clyde in the finals here for Portland? Yeah, won the finals, of course, with Houston and Hakeem. But 91-92 would have been the, or was it 92-93? Yeah, 91-92. They lost the finals. Wait, so was this so 90-91 would have been the Lakers finals. We're just going to have to go back and rewatch the Last Dance documentary. Yeah. So 91 would have been the hand switch finals. And then, so this would have been the second finals, but then you're like, okay, MJ is here now. He's won the finals. He's back-to-back champion. He's up in the series. I don't remember exactly which game that would have been in. I guess we could go through the games and are we going to try to find this game, chat? Because he had an insane first half in that game. And, I guess, insane scoring performances in all these games that he won. I don't think it was the 46 performance. It might have been this game 1, honestly. Or maybe game 2, but let's try game 1 here. 39. Because I want to say he had like 30 in the first half and then ended the game with 30. Oh, they're not going to give us the quarter breakdown splits. But it would be the game that he had like a great three-point shooting game as well. 6 for 10 from 3. It has to be this one, chat. It has to be game 1 of the finals. I guess we could probably just pull up the highlight as well, too, and look at that. Game 2, they lost, so I don't know if the highlight would have aged as well if they shrugged and he lost. That would have been a funny MJ moment. But it's like, oh, well, the one missed time MJ shrug. But he wouldn't even have had the chance in this one, chat. 50 minutes? They go to overtime? They did, chat. They would have had to. I was like, how did MJ log 2 extra minutes? 50 minutes from MJ. Couldn't hit a 3 in overtime, though, unfortunately, for this one. 5 turnovers, 39 in that one as well, too. And then, yeah, or I guess at this point it would just be easier to, at this point we've looked at all the games, but it would just be easier to go to Jordan's game page and just look at his run of 3-pointers, which probably would have just been the easiest way to do it, in the first place. But there's always a chance to get it right, chat, so we will correct ourselves right now. Yeah, so so I mean, 2 for 6, 2 for 4, 2 for 3. I mean, definitely, more consistent 3-point performances here at the end. But yeah, that game 1, 6 for 10. So, I mean, even that moment, though, like in the finals, I don't know if there was we have to go back and watch The Last Dance, but was there like, oh, can he have the back-to-back? Oh, chat, we got to pay attention. The third quarter wasn't quite as, Pacers making the push. We're going to have to go back and watch the tape on this one. We were distracted. But Cavs are up 93-77. So what do we got? A 16-point lead here? Are we doing the math right, chat? Oh, excuse me. A 16-point lead going into the fourth quarter. It is a little sketchy. I guess they could. We got, free throws here for the Cavs, so the Cavs could maybe make it 20. The Pacers could also make it like 14, I guess we'll see what happens. But, and I don't know, maybe the Phoenix series is MJ's highest scoring series as well, too. But he doesn't really, again, there's not like an iconic moment that lives on from that series, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like that whole, MJ's aura just lives on. So him just completely wiping out the league in the 90s and having awesome finals is what stands out. But yeah, Chad, he put up 40 points in 4 straight finals games, and then, of course, a 55 in there as well, too. 41 a game in this finals. I guess, once again, our research skills are off. They do have a playoff series page here for all the players, but for our guy Michael here, let's see. Michael, chat? Our guy MJ, Michael Jordan. Let's see. Points per game. Can we just straight up sort here? For the finals, the first one that pops up would be, 92-93 the Bulls. I mean, as you would expect, 41 a game in that playoff series. But the next finals would have been, the next one against Portland as well, too. 35.8. So, I mean, 4 points a game better in that Phoenix series, chat, is crazy. 50% from the field. Against Portland, he was 52% from the field. So he was just taking it easy, chat, in that game. Or in the Portland series, he was cruising. But I guess, Barkley, with all due respect to Clyde, Barkley is maybe a little bit up on the legacy rankings as well, too. And I know, speaking of some low field goal percentage performances, there is some maybe other people in that Phoenix team that were in some of those categories as well, too. Unfortunately for our guy, Charles Barkley, that may be the case. Because, again, Barkley, you don't ever think of Barkley as a guy that's like, Barkley didn't deliver at least for us. Like, that's not how the legacy is lived on. And I don't think, and make no mistake, if there was any type of legacy stuff out there in a in a misconstrued way, like if people were like, oh, Barkley could carry a team to the, if Simmons thought that wasn't true, he would correct it, chat. So I'm pretty sure that since Simmons and Russillo talk, that, like, they, I guess not to say that everything, but it's like, if there were guys that were like, hey, like, oh yeah, the legacy of, we need to do the rehash on a player, like, they lead the league in legacy rehashes, chat. Hey, yo, is there maybe a little rehash in the rehash? I don't know, chat, but maybe sometimes. But with Barkley, that's not going to happen. So again, I think it's like, what happened in that Phoenix? Oh, some of the other hey, yo, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But also, at the end of the day, MJ was scoring 41 points a game in that series, and 50%, 37% from three. And I guess this is just the run in the playoffs in general, chat. That entire pre-trilogy, I don't know if we got all those playoff games in there in this sort, because we don't have it clicked on here anymore. But this page is still left up. But 74 games, he was 50% from the field, 37% from three. So, I mean, chat, for the entire conversation about the MJ three-point stuff, as much as you may look at here, like, let's look at just like more basic career numbers for MJ. I guess the Wizards years, chat, bringing his 3-point percentages down. But in Chicago for his career, and I don't know, like these really early, you see like in the teens for those really early years. So, I mean, 82 games. This year he was 42% from three in 95-96. 37. So, I mean, you see there's a couple of years there. But, even in, I guess, these early years when this percentage would have been lower in the playoffs a little bit. So, that first trilogy year regular season, he's 31-27 and 35% from three. And he's not really taking any as well, too. So, I guess we didn't look at the attempts in the playoffs for that run. But I guess those last 2 years, he's up to 2 and he's up to 3.8. So it's nothing compared to what we're taking today. But by the 90s standards, it's not like he's not taking 3-pointers. Like, here, let's pull up the team chat. Now we're just deep in the weeds at this point. We are way off the target. I don't even know what the launching pad was here, chat. But we're just George Clooney and gravity just drifting off into space at this point in the stats. But for playing, what did they have? Like, John Paxton. So they probably had some 3-point shooters on this team. But even Paxton was only taking 1 point. Paxton and Craig Hodges were like the spacers on this team. And BJ Armstrong. And between the three of these guys, they were taking like 4 3-pointers a game, maybe, in the playoffs. Like, they each got 1 3. They subbed them in and each got 1 3-pointer, basically. And MJ was still leading the team in attempts. And they, make no mistake, they were making them, chat. Paxton was 44%, Craig Hodges 45%, and BJ Armstrong, not in this playoff run, I guess 29%, of course. Pippen at 19% from the field, chat. But to be honest, I mean, again, this is like literally you want to talk about situations and things falling into place, chat. The perfect team to assemble around MJ. Again, MJ's scoring was, obviously Brady-esque in the way that the great players can make up for things. Like, MJ could just get you a bucket, and at the end of the day, either you need to not let the math needs to math, chat. You either need to be able to lock in and not let the team score, or you need to be able to get a bucket and go toe-to-toe with the team that way. And if you have a guy that can get a bucket, that can maybe be even a little bit more confidence boosting than even as great as like team defense or a great shot blocker, or even like you have like Hakeem on the court and you say you need to get a stop. Like, okay, I'm actually feeling like that's almost as the math on that might be like, you know, Hakeem's stop percentage might be like in the 50, 40, 90 range, if the math works out that way. But you know, you have a team that can play some defense, and MJ also, again, his versatility is a part of that as well too. Like, you know, makes him perfect for the modern NBA. Two-way player, chat, and could potentially space the floor as well too. And if you know, you need us to make the case for why MJ can play in the modern NBA. Pacers cut it to 17, 10:45. Is that an and one for Siakam there? Is that Strus going to be the foul? Yeah, I think they might get Strus on a foul call. A little contact. Yeah, he's at the free throw line. So 16? If Siakam gets it to go, Chad, uh-oh! Let's stay locked in. I don't know, famous. I'm not even gonna say it. Because if there's Cavs fans in the chat, they're gonna get mad at me. But I mean, chat. There's no way. There's just no way that the NBA, because if the Pacers, I will say it right now, chat. Is this the Paul Pierce moment for us? You know, I guess we're not gonna say we're gonna walk to the studio because you know, it wouldn't be as impressive as Paul Pierce's walk, unfortunately. Maybe, you know, the studio's not, at least the house is not located way off into the hills in the studio. I guess, see, Paul Pierce has got the wrong setup, chat. That's really what it is. It's not even our setup is better than Paul Pierce's, chat. Is that what we're saying here? Hot take? Because we don't have to walk 20 miles to work. I guess, again, we're also not placing bets that say that we would walk 20 miles to work. But if we did, I would, you know, I guess we'll do laps, 20 miles worth of laps back and forth, chat, from, you know, I don't know if that's a realistic bet, but there's just, if the Pacers and the Knicks win these next two games in the same style with these dramatic comebacks, like if the Knicks win a dominant performance or maybe a battle style game, I don't know, it's different at that point, but if they win dramatic, make up a big margin type games again, then the league is scripted. It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you, but there's just no way that the Cavs, again, win probability, Chad, it's got to factor in at some point. I said it's off at some point, but how off is it? It can't be this off, where these teams are going to, I guess we're just penciling in the, but, and it's just the idea, and you know, do the Cavs get that mental as well too, where if the Pacers play up, what do we got here? I mean, I don't even want to do the math for the Cavs. We need the diff up on the TV. Where's the diff? Chad, I'm used to not doing math during Cavs games, and now ESPN doesn't have the diff up there. I guess this is a Pacers home game, but Mobley falling away, Chad, Siakam, oh. Is that a foul on the Cavs? Nesmith was involved, so I just assumed Nesmith got the foul, but Carlisle's reacting like he did. Chat, this might be like a speechless type pod, chat. I mean, what do you expect? And again, the Celtics, it's a different thing. Defending champions, like we're saying, it's a lot more to process of how is this team allowing this to happen. But the Cavs were a dominant regular season team, and as much as it would be shocking for them to, you know, what the I guess shocking, but more like as much as it would feel like them not necessarily achieving what they would want to achieve by losing in the second round of the playoffs, for them to be down 3-0 to a team would be shocking. I think that would be shocking. And again, it could be a good team. You know, if they were down 3-0 to the Cavs or if they were down 3-0 to the Celtics, they kind of are down to themselves right now, chat. If the Pacers make this storm back, chat, the Cavs, I guess we can't get dramatic every time the Pacers score because the Cavs do have a chance to answer offensively. A little Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter two-man game's not going to make us feel a lot better about it, though. DeAndre Hunter, ISO 3 at the top of the key, right off the back of the rim. Luckily, Mitchell's able to get the rebound. Why is Mitchell in the game? And it's a two-man game between Hunter and Dean Wade. What's going on? Mitchell, cook this man! Nesmith losing. Dean Wade for three. Another miss, chat. The shots are starting to clank. Halliburton's not in the game. It's McConnell bringing the team back. They've got Jared Allen on McConnell because They don't trust McConnell offensively, but that means Garland ends up on Siakam. Oh, Garland, good defense. Pushes him out. It's McConnell that gets the ball back. You can't doubt him, chat. You can't doubt him. They cut the... Now we can do the math. It's round numbers 14. Is this a Celsius, chat? What's going on? What's going on? Am I seeing this right? Timeout. We need to turn the TV up. Turn the TV up. The Cavs fans are on their... Pacers fans are on their feet. The Cavs fans are on their phones. I don't know, chat. Wow, McConnell. The Pacers. It's happening again. There's no way. There's no way. This can't... I'm not even a Cavs fan, chat. I'm not a Pacers fan. I'm not rooting for anything, but I'm rooting for common sense. It feels like common sense to not let a team back again. Siakam for 3 in the corner. It's an 11-point game. It's an 11-point game. There's 8 minutes left. Kenny Atkinson. He calls a timeout. Chat, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to lose this game. You can feel it turning. You can feel it turning. You can feel the series slipping away, chat. We're going to turn into Stephen A. What's going on with Mitchell, chat? This can't be happening to the Cavs fans. Sorry, Cavs fans. I know you're up by... They're up by 9, up by 11, and it feels like they've already lost the game, like we've said. Win probability still at 95.7. Cut it in half. Cut it in half. This game's over. The Pacers have already closed it. This is crazy, chat. Where is Mitchell at right now? 29. He's balling. The math doesn't math. Mitchell puts up 50 in these games, and they just... chat, they lose. Strus has 17. Mathurin playing well tonight. And what does Halliburton's stat line look like? Halliburton's 2 for 8. 5 assists, but yeah, I was going to say it hasn't been like a jump off the page Halliburton game so far. So maybe that's part of the reason they're making the storm back here, Chad. Is this like a, we can't go, we're not calling it a Harden moment because, hey, yo, Chad, what did we just say? We're not calling it a James Harden playoff moment where, the best player is on the sideline while the team is making up the score. But maybe this is just like a weird basketball type game where certain players, like we're saying, McConnell is plus 14 tonight. Chase the MVP of the game. Benedict Mathurin is also, just the Pacers' second unit is right there as well, too. And again, for this type of game, for it to be the second unit in the game where the Cavs got their guys back, and now you would say that maybe depth wouldn't be an issue in this game for them. But, have they been able to rely on some of their bench guys in the same way? Ty Jerome's only played 10 minutes tonight, chat. 1 foul, so it's not that, just 1 for 6. He just hasn't... what's been more disappointing, chat? The Tatum playoff numbers or the Ty Jerome playoff numbers? I guess we did say Westbrook was our favorite playoff player left. But Ty Jerome... I guess do we need to do a first team all playoff player? I guess you just get added onto it as it happens, chat. But you just earn your spot as it happens. It's not like there's a deadline for the first team all favorite playoff list. But Westbrook definitely on it. So is that our backcourt? First team all playoff Westbrook and Ty Jerome, chat. Let's go. Let's go. We don't even have a star player yet at this point. It doesn't matter. Our supporting cast is locked in. But guys we're rooting for, guys we'd be just genuinely happy for good playoff performances, it's those two guys. It can't be any of these young whippersnappers, chat, before Wemby. And I know Wemby is still in the time. Wemby's only in his second year. Like, Halliburton and Ant were in the same draft, chat. They were in the same draft, and they might be in the finals this year. Same draft, same finals? I guess the Halliburton and Ant draft, the 84 draft, Halliburton, chat. I guess Halliburton's not the one that's been compared to MJ out of that draft, but I don't know. He's been on his way to make... He's in the East. Ant is not the one that's in the same conference, chat. But what's the distance between Minneapolis and Chicago and Indianapolis, Chicago? I think Minneapolis, Chicago is closer because Chicago, Milwaukee, it's all that up north stuff, chat. I think Indianapolis, you're pushing a little bit more into... I don't think we're quite into southern Indiana, right, chat? I've been, but obviously, but I don't know. It's not like I've got the state of Indiana laid out. I've been on the highway from here to there, but I don't know. It's like, it doesn't say now you're 75% of the way through the state of Indiana. I was like, oh, we hit that checkpoint. Okay, Mitchell driving the turnaround. Siakam's on him. Mitchell, chat, here we go. I know, again, it's like, I mean, you got to give credit, I guess, again, for any time a guy closes out stuff for performing well in the playoffs, but it's like, okay, the heart attack moments that you're giving the fans here in the fourth quarter, and, you know, I guess it's just the greediness just continues to work up from the fan level stuff as you watch the game. At some point, it's like, you know, oh, we want our guy to win close games. If we have a 20-point lead, though, it's like, hey, we want to just have the 20-point lead the whole time. We don't want to have to deal with the trauma of, oh, the step back on Neesmith. Bang, chat! I don't know if that's a Mike Breen-worthy moment, but that puts him back up 14 with 7.5 minutes left, and that's kind of like, okay, at least Mitchell's feeling it. And that is, hey, chat, is that a superstar moment for Mitchell right there? Because, again, with these star players, that's kind of what you would want. You know, in certain situations, like we're saying, the Celtics are a team where it's nice to have the whole team cooking as well, too. But that's what you want, again, from a guy like Tatum. You want it to be, okay, what have we got? Ryan Rucco and Corey Alexander on the call. So maybe Mike Breen has got the next game. We probably got TNT for the next game. Oh, no, ESPN for the next game. So, yeah, maybe we got Mike Breen on the OKC Denver game. But make no mistake, chat, we might not get a Mike Breen, you know, clutch moment in this game. I don't know if we can say a Mike Breen Bay moment, chat, but, you know, a Mike Breen gets to use his catchphrase moment in the fourth quarter of this one. We'll just have to see how that one plays out. But in Denver, maybe a little bit more likely. Strus from 3. There we go, chat, the Cavs. And I guess we're a little bit more of a Cavs fan tonight because, again, if we just kind of are rooting for dramatic basketball, we're the Thanos of playoff basketball right now, chat. With no Spurs, with this, you know, when our planet gets eliminated, we turn into a Thanos fan. It is what we root for. Balance. Perfectly balanced basketball, as all things should be. So right now the scales are tipped toward the Pacers. We're rooting for the Celtics for balance purposes, or I guess also for them, but the Cavs for balance purposes. Since Denver always feels like the losing team in these games, we always have to be rooting for Denver for balance purposes. They never actually feel like they're going to be the winning team, though. The one time they did was, of course, in that Game 7 against the Clippers, but unfortunately, or is that going to be a look-back moment and be more accentuated about the performance that the other team gave in that game than necessarily what Denver was able to accomplish? And Denver had a good game as well, too. I mean, it's a combination of both, where you had a great Denver game and a bad Clippers game. And, you know, it's, again, why Denver won by like 30 or whatever instead of maybe 15 or 20 or whatever random score it would have been. But, yeah, so you always got to root for Denver. And then I guess, again, we would have been rooting for Steph and Golden State. In our mind, they still would have been the underdog in that series. But that series is also tied 1-1. But I guess we're still with what we saw again then without Steph. It is, if we're rooting for the underdogs, it's definitely Golden State at that point. And like we're saying, Chad, I mean, again, as a fan, you're looking for ways to continue to confirm all your biases for these guys. And, you know, in the LeBron-Steph thing, I don't think I'm necessarily a guy that roots. Well, like we said, Chad, I guess I'm a bit of a Thanos fan, so maybe I am searching for balance here in the LeBron. But I guess, are we at the place where, sorry for the dramatic pause there, Chad, are we at the place where we need to be, I guess just the idea of like, do we need to be searching for balance in the Steph-LeBron argument? I know that that's always been the conversation between these two guys, and it's like, it's just always been that idea of the LeBron thing has been, because you have to remember as well too, like Steph wins that first finals, LeBron has a decade head start on Steph. So the idea that Steph is able to catch LeBron while they're playing as well too is crazy. But again, it's just Steph is actually good. It's a credit. So maybe it's just the point goes back to LeBron has just played through it like half the NBA's existence and everybody's career and been awesome the entire time. But and one finals has been the greatest player as well too. It's not just the longevity of it. It's the longevity. It's that he's had the longevity of being the second best basketball player, you know, the best basketball player or whatever of all time, wherever you want to, you know, have him on the list. But like Steph is still like having the career at this point. Well, you know, what are we at with Steph? Like 2009 draft. So, you know, like year 14, 15, 16. We can't do math, chat, but we should probably be able to do math. But those are big numbers. 2009 to 2025, chat. We're adding thousands together. I mean, Jesus, chat. Like, what grade do you think we're in here? But Yeah, with Steph, it's like he actually still has to build the resume. And even after like the 2018 finals, it's like, okay, that's the peak era of Steph Curry. And now what's sort of the veteran-y phase in this next sort of, again, you don't want to say like post-peak because that signifies sort of a different thing. Like, I think, again, with all due respect to LeBron, like now we're kind of in the post-peak era of LeBron James where you would still, at the peak, like, again, even with Steph, I still feel like we're still at sort of Steph Curry's peak years because he can still, when he's out there, he can still be a top 5 guy in the league, a top whatever guy in the league. He can still be the best guy on a court for a team you put around him that could potentially win the finals. But just showing his continued importance, and I guess showing the way that he can raise the floor of the team. I think that is the other, and in so many parts of the conversations, it's like, what are the areas that pro LeBron people, and again, I pro both of these guys, so it's just I'm always trying to balance out both conversations in my mind. But if you're looking at it from the pro LeBron side of things, you're like, well, maybe LeBron, if you put him with quote unquote like worse role players, LeBron can sort of do more with less because of his capabilities as a full all-round basketball player. And I mean, make no mistake, that's true. Like, again, LeBron is sort of capable of more on a basketball court, and there's matchup stuff, and we saw in the finals, like, if it comes down to it, like LeBron has to attack Steph Curry one-on-one, then yeah, LeBron is probably going to win that matchup offensively. Defensively, LeBron has a better chance of stopping Steph than Steph does of having LeBron, you would think, I guess. But again, Steph's a sneaky guy, chat. Like, it may be a closer one-on-one matchup than you actually. I think that one-on-one game, like, I think if they play 10 times, I think Steph could win 5 of them, chat. Like, I don't think that's a hot take at all. Make no mistake. I think Steph versus, again, he's so good offensively. Steph versus anybody in NBA history, he's just going to be, of course, be that great. But I mean, again, you see with this team what the bottom out floor of this team is. Again, there's some injury pieces as well too, and like Butler's not totally healthy and all that stuff. But it is that type of team that you're like, if LeBron was on this team, you're like, oh man, I can't believe this team is even considered to be a finals team. Like, how is LeBron carrying this team to this level? And again, it's made me look back retroactively more at that 22 finals and be like, it's just incredible the level that he got to be able to carry that team with, again, with all due respect to the guys in the rest of that roster, and you still have like Draymond and other guys playing very important roles around him, but it did become a little bit of like, like we were saying with the MJ series chat, where it's like you put the sort of defensive versatility pieces around him in that way, and you still like Poole and stuff, like being offensive heat check. Like, is Poole the Craig Hodges of that Warriors team? I guess maybe he's even a little bit more capable than than any of those sort of 3-point shooters that they had. But it's just like, okay, the level that they needed Steph to get to offensively in that playoffs, he absolutely got there, and again got there without the without the performances, but with a different level of supporting cast playing around him than he did in the, like I was saying, in the 2014-15, he should have been the Finals MVP in those early finals, with that Iguodala finals as well, probably too. But again, you got other Finals MVP level performances for the other guys. It's not to take away from Iggy's performances. It's just to say, in our opinion, if we ranked them, it would be a different probably 1-2 ranking than what bared out in that year. And again, it's not like we need to go back, and we're not trying to fire up the DeLorean here to go back and rewrite history, but it's just his ability to carry that team obviously showed with the role guys around it in a different way. And again, his ability to raise the floor of this team, it's like, well, I mean, he's raising the floor of this team at the level of any guy in the league. And again, he's doing it at this phase in his career. So it's like, the retroactively looking back, it's like, well, is there any point at Steph Curry's peak that he wouldn't have had a team in this winnings at this, at least this level of winning at any point? Like, again, that 50-win mark, that playoff capability, that can you advance in a couple of rounds of the playoffs with Steph as your best guy? Like, with the uncertainty of who the role players are around him. Again, the Warriors were a finals team consistently, and a dynasty level team, because they had a great supporting cast with that first run, and then of course an all-time great team when Durant and Clay continued to emerge, Draymond continued to emerge, Steph of course continued to emerge as well. They went to all-time great status. But again, in the levels of championship status year to year, the championship level you need to get to just win the finals that is in front of you, like, Steph was able to raise a team that was like maybe they're just at that level, and Steph was able to completely raise them across that floor that they needed to get to. And again, the floor of like this team needing to be a competitive team, a playoff team, whatever. He's again raising it to the level that Jokic is, and maybe Jokic is still like, again, Jokic and Giannis a smidge better at this point in their careers than what Steph is able to. But it's close, Chad. I mean, it's close. Again, like, would this team be more likely to take down this Timberwolves team with Jokic if you just flip out Jokic and Steph just straight up? Like, maybe you feel a little bit more confident about them in 7, and then again, in 7, it's just like anything can happen in a game 7. You maybe just pick the best player. But, again, you still pick Steph Curry as the best player anyways. In that situation, I guess, again, Ant could be just playing awesome. So, Mitchell has closed out this game in the fourth quarter. 5.5 minutes left here, but he's pushed the lead back up to 20 for the Cavs, 117-96, and just draw the foul here on the and one, getting the play through the Miles Turner contact. Yeah, Miles Turner just flailing around there, trying to block the shot. But the Cavs, Pacers fans, a little bit stunned by the fact that we thought it was going to happen there, chat, for a second. So shout out to Mitchell, just completely stopping the Superman, stepping in, stopping the trains. I guess Spider Mitchell, stopping the trains, because Spider-Man can stop a train as well too. Make no mistake, he's got the super strength. I don't want to start getting into the levels of super strength because Kryptonian to the gravity comparisons versus the spider to the human comparisons. I don't know how the correlations necessarily extrapolate, but I think of course Superman is just one of the stronger sort of, again, I want to say basic heroes. Once you start getting into the extra, I'm thinking like actual physical strength as well too, not just the cosmic, like this guy can wipe away a guy with a poof, or this guy's like some alien jacked up guy using testosterone, like Thanos. Thanos is out on testosterone, chat. Make no mistake, the guy's juicing. It is what it is. Thanos is not clean. It is what it is. Thanos not natural. Natty or not, Thanos. I don't know if we need the breakdown, chat. I guess, do the Infinity Stones count? That becomes the question. Are the Infinity Stones supplements? Are they? Oh, chat, another foul. I thought maybe that time a block. But Turner's like, at this point in the game, he's just trying for every block. It doesn't matter. Just foul out. Who cares? But what were you off there rambling about there for a second, chat? Something about, I think, Jokic and, oh yeah, Steph and his, the way that he's raised the floor to this team. It really is bringing and again, the legacy stuff is one thing. The sort of immediate on the court impact is another thing. Like the like we've always talked about, the hypothetical in-game situation, just the all-time time machine matchup. But the all-time time machine matchup, which I do, I gotta admit, of course, that's how I can value that. Maybe for me, as much in the legacy rankings, and of course, it's made up with how you're able to play your career, the trust that is built through the performances that you have. But Steph is getting really close to LeBron, Chad. It just is what it is. And again, he's getting really close to him with some of the legacy stuff as well too, like the playoff accolades especially. But I mean, again, LeBron's got a totality thing that puts him, of course, in the conversation to be the absolute best of all time from the career standpoint. But if we talk about the in-game stuff, it's just really, really close, Chad. And at the end of the day, I'm still gonna pick LeBron, still gonna pick MJ, but I'm just gonna feel bad about it. I'm gonna just be like, Steph's gonna kill me from 3 at some point in this game, and it's gonna hurt. I'm gonna feel like an idiot for leaving this absolute, we've seen the absolute transcendent talent that he is from the 3-point line. I just feel like an idiot for not just being like, well, I guess that's probably the most important thing that we've seen in NBA history. But again, it's that factor with it, combined with the fact that he also has, the rest of the basketball ability with that to raise the floors to the team that they are. And again, like we're saying, the longevity is not just a thing as well too, where it's like a vague number with LeBron, where it's like, okay, well, there it is, 20 seasons. It's he hit the checkpoint to, now we can call it longevity, and now it can be a talking point in his career. It's also, again, the fact that he is, and again, we can't, well, I guess we can jinx it. Well, we can't jinx him right now because he's injured, but he also, again, has had the durable career. So he is like the most durable superstar of all time. Like, that's just something you can't take away from him. And Steph has had injuries. So for being like the super, and again, if we're talking about one game, you know, the injury thing becomes way less of a play, or a season or whatever. But if you want to become like the real, we can't take any chances, like how do we ensure everything is perfect for us making a title run, that does become the one sort of, again, the and not to be like, you know, really like digging through the attic of like what are things that we can find to make sure we're defending LeBron as the title. But again, you know, in the legacy stuff, but if you have to look at everything, the durability factor of it is going to matter. And again, we're, you know, as much as we can say Steph raises the floor, that's the other factor of it that I was bringing up in my mind as well too when I was thinking about him versus LeBron. It's like, you know, as always, well, guess what? LeBron was healthy. LeBron was there. And I guess even if LeBron wasn't healthy, he was there through, you know, with whatever sort of injury he was announcing afterwards. After they lost, Chad, he'd announced the injury. But you'd go back and look at the stats and be like, yeah, you know, didn't really matter. He was still, you know, awesome. I don't know why he needs to announce this injury. Like, nobody's sitting here saying that they lost because of LeBron. Like, I think everybody, you know, J.R. Smith needs to be the one that announces the injury. Like, maybe, you know, attacked on the walk to the stadium, guy hit him in the head and made him forget what was going to lose, you know, in the fourth quarters. You know, J.R. Smith walked into some scaffolding on the way to the stadium, and now he can't remember what the time. I don't know. That's probably what needed to be announced, because I think even after that game, wasn't LeBron like, oh, the wrist again, Chad, or whatever. And of course now, you know, the man had to DMP the Met Gala because of the knee injury. But hey, you know, it is a thing, Chad. Like, if you're like, well, what are everything on the table with these superstars? I get LeBron James. I'm probably getting a full season of a basketball player. He's going to be out there. I know the later stuff, you know, with the Lakers' careers, there's some seasons in there, of course. But again, you're talking about LeBron in his late 30s. LeBron, and I guess, you know, we're talking about Steph at this phase of his career as well, too. So, yeah, you know, maybe we need to even research that a little bit more before we make that exact statement. But anyways, you know, of course, through, and, you know, Steph's earlier career, like, Steph at the peak of his powers was, as, you know, about as durable as superstar, especially in the play. I guess, yeah, especially, I guess we should say in the finals that you could get, because again, he missed some series as well too. But by the time we got to the end of the games, like, he was the last man standing in that Toronto series against Kawhi as well too. But, and maybe, you know, of course, if he closes that one out, like, I mean, that really is a legacy definer in a big way. But it is just like, not that there would have been a wrong pick before, chat between him and LeBron, of course. I mean, again, the legacy stuff, it just becomes almost preference at some point as well, to personal attachment, you know, bias, whatever. But it's just like, you know, LeBron at that stage of his career, would he have not, whatever version of this playoff would have been, and, you know, they won that first game without him as well too for a lot of that game. So is there, you know, we're sitting here saying there's a recipe for them, like, is there a recipe for them to win without Steph? I guess, yeah, the Timberwolves playing bad is a decent recipe, of course, but you just see the downside of not having Steph, and it just them game planning as well too to not have Steph, even in the game, like, just the presence that Steph left with, like, the 12 minutes that he played, like, still was able to, that's how great he was, Chad. I was still able to just linger throughout the rest of the game. So they just, even if he's not hurt, just sub him in for, like, the first couple plays, get the aura out there a little bit, and maybe they can throw off the Timberwolves for the next game. It's looking like about the only chance that they have at this point is just suit Steph up and just hope his aura is enough to help power the team in some way. But yeah, Chad, like, if LeBron at whatever stage in his game, it's not like a, like, you know, as we always try to do, Chad, it's trying to be complimentary of everybody around here. But it's just like, you know, again, a lot of great players, would they be elevating this team, you know, more than maybe Steph is doing right now? Like, I just don't know, Chad. I just don't know. And to, you know, to what level? Again, the greatness, the increments in the greatness is what separates the guys. So one guy taking this team to the conference championship and one guy taking this team to the semifinals, it is a difference. But again, there's you know, we don't want to get too in the weeds with it, of course. But if that's not already the case, Chad, if we're not already just spun around lost in the prairie grass, but which I always just, you hate to say, I guess funny's not the right term for it, chat, but just, it is, of course, one of those things you don't think about being like a threat crossing the middle of the country when the people are talking about like the Oregon Trail days or whatever, but it really is. I guess, you know, it really was anyways. It probably still is, you know. I guess the tall grass being a threat, it didn't go away. Just there's obviously a little less of it throughout the nation. Chat, RIP to the tall grass, I guess. But yeah, I guess it's the idea of, and again, just the idea of people getting lost in tall grass as like a threat. I guess, how tall was this grass, chat? Like, it's almost just bush. And maybe we're just like, yeah, stupid. They were just, chopping their way through bushes to get across the Oregon Trail. But, again, you think more that prairie grass style, like there's sort of like a elegant music video vibe to these people sort of crossing the great, again, that's sort of the fantasy, the romanticization of just history in general. But again, just the prairie specifically, like you get it with the Rockies, you get it with like winter and stuff like that, like the brutality of the seasons and, the jungle, the forest, the mountains, I guess even sort of I guess I was going to say like the beach, but I guess, if like a tsunami or a hurricane or something like that, the coastline, I guess. But, even the idea of crossing in boats and crossing just big bodies of water, even like the idea of crossing a peaceful body of water in the Oregon Trail. I mean, I guess that's all they had. So their most advanced technology, like they would probably have had the most confidence in it they could have had. But still, it's like there's still probably a threat level to that feels a little like crossing the ocean still feels a little bit more intimidating than going through the prairie grass. And maybe statistically it is, but again, like just there was for some reason a lot of people getting lost in prairie grass back in the day, chat. And again, like I say, a lot of people, like it was probably a little bit more kids and kids just wandering away. Like that's gonna it's not gonna happen. But it's not like are we putting blame on it? It's sort of like a rookie in the playoffs. We can't necessarily, are we blaming J-Dub last year for the poor playoff performances? It's like, hey, J-Dub, he wandered into the prairie grass. You know what? If you're not holding his hand, he's 3 years old. Maybe keep the 3-year-old in the wagon and don't have him just walking beside you. But, and again, just like the idea, but the companies are moving fast. It kind of is like, getting off the, like falling off the cruise boat a little bit in the ocean. But either way, that's what happens, chat. The Cavs are up 22, so we're ranting about prairie grass. It is what it is. That's what happens in some of these games. We need the Van Gundy, Mark Jackson combo back, chat, for times like this. Rem and Sam plus? Is that our goal? We were talking about Stan Van Gundy in the booth, so make no mistake. I guess we still want Stan Van Gundy in the booth, but are we going to set up a competing alternate broadcast to ours? Why not, chat? Or we just, move into a producer role? Sort of a, well, there have been, creatives that have moved into a producer role, but I was going to, maybe not ones that we would comp to. Just, it's the wrong year to, I guess, make that comp, chat, unfortunately. But, I guess businessmen in the hip-hop industry that used to be rappers, I guess, again, we could say Jay-Z, of course. But again, Jay-Z, well, I guess Jay-Z was a good rapper, chat. I'm thinking of maybe somebody that you're like, moving. He's probably better in a producer role than maybe he was in a rapper role. So I guess us bringing back but then that means we have to get Mike Breen out of the booth because you'd want the three of you. Of course, you'd want the trio back together. So maybe it's a 4-man booth with Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, but then we add in Stan Van Gundy. Do we have Stan Van doing sideline? So that's not trying to put 4 guys in the broadcast booth here, chat, and on the sideline. I'm not making a statement, but I'm just saying that we're just trying to get Stan Van Gundy on the team, chat. We just got to add Stan Van Gundy into the mix somehow. It is what it is. But anyways, back to what we were saying about Steph Curry before. Like we were saying, we wandered into the prairie grass. A little Craig Porter Jr. sighting tonight. Let's go, chat. Maybe these Ty Jerome minutes here. These last 90 seconds. Yeah, get a look here, chat. Ty Jerome for 3. He missed. So up 19, minute 15 seconds left. You're feeling pretty good. You're got to bring this series back to only a 2-1 deficit now. A chance to still, for them to take a 3-1 lead at home in the next game. But you can still feel a little shaky. You're like, Ty Jerome, we kind of need him. I guess, and again, do you feel, Cavs fans, do you feel good about a 19-point win? Because anything in this range, even though it's 19 points at the end of the fourth quarter, again, 19 points, like it's not like a score that we're feeling confident in. We see that score in the third, we're like, flashbacks, chat. Flashbacks. So I don't know if you're feeling like, oh yeah, we got this one on lock for the next game. Because again, the Pacers are going to have that extra motivation to get that home win as well too, in front of their home crowd. But, and yeah, I mean, again, Steph's always, of course, like we were saying as well, he's right there with LeBron. He's always been there. But it's just that floor raiser conversation was just really, really interesting to see on display this year. Because again, were they going to be a title team this year? So, you know, LeBron was taking some teams to the East there that, I don't know, again, you flip Steph on those teams, Chad, do they get it through the East? It's a what if that we'll never know, but again, their careers have played out in this way. We're seeing Steph carry these teams, and, you know, Edwards against that Wolves team, if they were able to make a run somehow, I guess the Rockets team, we'll see how that team like ages as a historical team, or was this like a fun one-year run? Was this the start of something with a couple of pieces, and then the version of the team actually looks forward, but the star players, you know, the core guys, is a couple of main core guys that were crossovers, you know, historic sort of start to their careers versus Steph Curry in this series. But okay, they went final to the ESPN chat, but we're still winding down on the Sling TV stream here. Okay, yep, Cavs are going to dribble it out. 876-543-21, and they will have, speaking of 2-1, chat, I guess that will be now the series score for Indiana and Cleveland. Back in it, chat. What's win probability for the series? They were still like a minus, well, maybe Indiana was a minus favorite. They had to have been, chat. There's no way you can favor Cleveland in the series down 2-0 with 2 more games on the road. There's just no way, chat. Oh, live gate update. Shout out ESPN. 17,274 in attendance. Strong. 17,274 people let down. No, I'm just kidding, chat. They're still happy with the fact that they are up 2-1 on the series. But Mitchell, with back-to-back 40-point games, is, again, setting himself up for a special playoff time. He's a special playoff scorer, chat. We could go through the numbers, but he was already in territory with guys like Iverson and guys like MJ. And, you know, again, from just like how many times has this guy done? You know, Luke as well, too, has, you know, racked up some pretty impressive amount of scoring performances this early on in his career. But, you know, maybe, who was I? Oh, maybe Iverson is a comp for Mitchell in a way. And Mitchell gets comped to Wade. Like, I guess Wade with his 03 finals, like Mitchell having that type of performance is definitely possible, chat. But maybe the Iverson model feels a little bit more similar. I don't know. I guess Mitchell does have a defensive, maybe, chat. I guess I don't want to sit here and say, does it feel more realistic that Mitchell can only win one game in a finals than win a finals? But because once you're in it and you're cooking, like Wade, and if you're getting the calls that Wade was, then I guess Mitchell could probably win a finals with shooting 20 free throws or whatever Wade ended up getting. 5 for 13 from 3 is obviously not great, but a couple of big shots there in the fourth quarter as well. Timing, of course, is everything with the points, and that's what you're going to want at the end of the day. But if you can actually, like, again, get that initial monkey off the back of the championship thing that Tatum had, like he had last year, if you can sort of, and I think maybe even for Mitchell, you know, and not to hold him to, you know, again, what you know, we have tears for all this stuff, chat, but he is not, I think, even in a he needs to win a title phase at this point. Like, he gets to the conference championship. I think he's at the peak of his powers. He's not too far off in the career timeline from where Tatum is at. But again, just the dialogue for what we expect those guys to be on the night tonight and for carrying those teams in championship runs. If Mitchell gets a team to the conference finals, I think it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Validating. If he gets a team to the finals, I think it's really impressive. And again, we'll get greedy. We'll expect him to be good in the finals. I'm not just writing him off as a bad finals performer. But I just think the expectations of what he needs to accomplish may be just a hair under at this point what some of the other guys are. And maybe, again, it's in correlation with what he already has accomplished, but he still is in the career timeline stuff right in line with, again, all these other young / you know, entering their prime type superstars that we have in the mix. So shout out to Cleveland for making this series finally interesting, but it's time to pivot to OKC versus Denver. Denver at home. Can they make this game interesting, chat? The series, I think, is just interesting in general because the Nuggets are a feisty team. But let's take a quick break as we get into this game, and we'll keep an eye on it for a little bit, chat. We'll keep an eye on it, see how Denver is hanging around to start. And, yeah, that will be on the other side. Right to this. Okay, chat, we shouldn't even have gone to break. We should have just waited like one pre-timeout stretch and just been like, okay, that's the live stream. We'll see you later because, chat, the Thunder might have the fire in their gut. I don't know. Is Jonathan Gannon taking over this team? Mark Daigneault? I mean, they definitely showed that they're, do we call it championship prowess? Do we show that they showed their dominant prowess that they had in the regular season in that last game versus the Nuggets? But back at home, and Murray came out and hit a couple of shots. Porter with a 3. It was like, ooh, do the Nuggets have the fire in their gut, chat? Did the Nuggets take the bus or did they walk to work? What happened? I don't know. But the Thunder just immediately, the intensity just continues to overwhelm. And I feel like sometimes, and this, the Celtics are a little like this as well too. I don't know if this is just, the championship, one of the curses as well too of being a good team. But there is a little bit of, because with the Celtics, it feels like, I know Simmons used the term arrogance with the Celtics, and it's more, he gets what he's saying. There's like a nonchalantness. I don't know if that's the right way to use that term, but there's like a comfortableness that they can fall into, and they don't, because again, they are champions. You feel like we got this in any moment. You don't feel the pressure of the moments in the same way because you just don't have that same panic, of course, anymore. And that confidence is a great thing, but also that anxiety, it can be a good thing as well too, to help, and maybe not anxiety, but that eagerness to get the win, just that anticipation can be a good power to help you actually accomplish these things. And the Nuggets don't necessarily, they do have a little bit of that nonchalantness, but they almost have the Clippers are maybe a little bit too extreme of this, like we saw, but they do have a little bit of that. If the team takes the punches, they're like, oh, wait a second, this team's not, they're a little bit of a one-round team in a way, almost, if that makes sense from like a boxing standpoint, where it's they do burn out in a sense from like almost like a conditions, but it's almost a little bit more of like a, oh well, if they didn't go down in round 1, they're not going to go down in round 5. There's no use in trying. Again, not giving up. It's looking for the right term to, it's really what it is, chat, to figure out how to describe it, but it's different than just a casual sort of play. They'll potentially throw a little bit of a punch early and then be a little bit reactive to that depending on how the other team responds. But the Thunder themselves, I mean, of course, chat, like we're saying, the intensity that they play with is insane, but it almost does, like tonight, they almost for some reason feel like a college team with just the way that they're active and flying around. And like college, it's almost like NBA, of course, guys can play great defense and great stuff, but there is not a lack of maybe there is a lack of fundamentals sometimes, but again, with college, there's like a commitment to the technique that's like a, okay, 3-point stance, lock in, shuffle the feet, like we're really 10 out of 10 on the fundamentals all the time sometimes. And the Thunder, like, they're like that level of locked in tonight, like hand in the face, like everything's like gotta be perfect, like rare things you see in the NBA these days, chat. But things that you see when it's like, okay, we're not the most athletic team in the, we need to be perfect in these fundamental type ways to win these games. Like the Thunder are that type of locked in right now. Shea on the closeout. Oh, Murray hits the 3. I thought they were going to get him on the foul there. So the Nuggets are responding right now. That's good, chat, because that's, again, I was maybe projecting a little bit more there what I was worried about with this game. Would they throw the couple of punches early and be like, man, the Thunder aren't going to give up again? Because you don't want to rely on that as much as, of course, we are, that is a piece of the conversation as to what could happen in this series. It's not something that you could game plan for. You can't game plan for the Thunder falling apart in fourth. Maybe you can game plan for you being the more mature team. You can game plan, of course, that if we execute properly in close games, like I guess we can game plan for the fact that our game plan could work, but you can't game plan like, okay, let's do these 6 things, and then the Nuggets or the Thunder need to play a bad game. Like maybe, again, with the deficit in the team in the back of your mind, that's something that obviously you're kind of hoping for and can definitely be like, okay, maybe it is something that we need to happen. But of course, we know that the Nuggets are also a team that is capable of, at least Murray specifically and Porter Jr. as well too, those guys are championship level guys. But Murray specifically, offensively, needs to be at that. And Jokic, again, he can put up 45, 50 points. So if Murray gives you 20, it's 70 combined, or 60, whatever combined. But Murray does need to be, I think, in that mid to high 20s range. And I say mid to maybe give him a little, because I think if we looked up his per game numbers in the playoffs it's not like he's necessarily, I think, in the 27 to 28 point game range. But I think especially with the way the team has, of course, been reconstructed and the way they're building around in some of the younger spots, and they don't have the veteran role guys and Brown and Caldwell Pope to fall back on in the same way. Again, Westbrook is there, but that's still a sixth man, and at the end of the day, still really a fifth man option. They don't have the same sort of versatility that they had back then, the same amount of looks. But you have, of course, and Jokic not stepping up, but Jokic just being like, okay, I have to be tasked to do more. Like, I will, again, accomplish everything that I need to be accomplished. But you also do, I think, need Murray to fill in a little bit more as well, too, of course, than he has in the regular season. And you get the benefit of, in the playoffs, we have Jokic, and Murray can have time to actually wait for these moments. But, again, you're waiting for these moments. And Murray has been awesome in the games that they've, like, let's do a quick, just for this playoffs. And, again, it's just one series and just a couple of games against the Thunder. But two, I think, dramatically different games, obviously, against the Thunder. A good time to look at the stats because they may be swayed dramatically in either way at this point. Or not, chat. But are we playoff splits here? Can we get playoff splits? Or is it just going to give us regular season and playoff maybe? I don't know. It's going to just... Well, win-loss anyways just this year in general. 23 points per game in the win. 19 points per game basically. 48-40 splits. 45-37 splits for the win-losses there. But yeah, it doesn't, I guess, give us like a playoff specific one. I thought it did, chat. I thought it did. But I guess we can look at the game log here and just get a general sort of vibe for what he has been having. So in losses, 23, 21, 23, 14. I guess some decent performances from the field. So his 2-point percentage has been pretty good. But you see his 3-point percentage has obviously been shaky in those losses. And they've been pretty, he's had some shakier ones in the wins here. A 1 for 5. But and an 0 for 3 as well, too. So really just the 8 for 14, chat. That's kind of carrying his game. It's kind of carrying his perception of us as well, too. Just the 143-point game. I guess if we sort it more like by the recent ones, he needs to reconfirm our hope in him, chat. Since that 43-point game. Just another sort of, pause, but another big Jamal Murray performance, which, again, we know he's capable of with the box scores that he's had over the course of his career. But, again, they're much more spaced out this playoffs in general. So, I was thinking going into this game, like, do you need 2 Murray games per playoff series to win? Like, if you get 2 Murray games, I think you're feeling really great. Because, obviously you need 4 Jokic games. But you get 2 Murray games, 1 sort of Westbrook game, and then 1 maybe Porter Jr. I guess you already got the sort of Aaron Gordon game in game 1. So you get 2 Murray games and then maybe a Westbrook sort of everybody else game. Or, again, Porter Jr. Maybe 2 Aaron Gordon games. He's been pretty good, like we're saying, as well, too, in this playoffs. But he honestly might be in the territory where you get 1 Aaron Gordon, and I guess, or 1 Jamal Murray, and I guess in this game where he went 1 for 4 from three-pointer, this was a loss. I guess I was looking at his raw stats there, chat, pause. But he was 6 for 6 from the free throw line in that game as well, too. And I guess this, in the win, 2 for 7 from 3, but 7 for 8 from the free throw line. So at least being aggressive there, and 4 for 9 from the field. And just 6 assists. He's not like, I guess, the reason for the win, chat. They had a pretty decent, performance. Like, Westbrook and just a bunch of other guys stepping up in that game as well, too. But, yeah, of course, Murray locked in. They're going to need him tonight. And actually, here, wait a second, chat. I got to dip back into the trusty trail mix jar here. An all-star prop on the Remington Pod. wins the day. Great stuff. Great stuff. Can we get a partner for the trail mix jar, chat? Who knows? Who knows? But, or, hey, maybe something else. But with the other guys in the Nuggets and with Gordon as well, too, I was, of course, you know, thinking about his role to being a guy like he has on this team. But again, and listening to, like, I think it was Simmons and Rosillo talk about this stuff, they were talking about just that type, you know, they were just phrasing it as like that type of guy who is the higher upside guy that, because again, I think you do go through NBA history, chat, and again, you find out, like, you look at some of these teams and you're like, okay, wait, the fourth, fifth guy, like even the Celtics, you know, right now, like Porzingis, you know, the defending champions, if we're just looking at the title team from last year, Porzingis was the third best, you know, even sometimes the best player in games for him, but, you know, role-wise, sort of the third best player on that team, and he was a number 4 overall pick in the draft. So not everybody, it's like, of course, the best player on the team is going to be a high draft pick. The second best player is, and we know that it varies, like obviously the hits and misses throughout the draft. But, you know, the Nuggets are kind of a, well, I guess Jokic is obviously, you know, like a way late pick. But Murray's kind of a, he's like the 7th pick, so he's like just on the outside of like being a top end, like number 1 overall guy in the draft. So, you know, his range is kind of like, okay, it's not far off from where his role is ultimately in the league in that type of stuff. But again, you know, Aaron Gordon was like, what was he, the number 6 or the number 4 overall pick in the draft? But he was in that range. He was top 6 either way. I just don't remember the exact number there for him. Yeah, number 4 overall in 2014 for that team. But like, you know, Scottie Pippen, of course, the Bulls traded up to get Scottie Pippen in that draft. Like, he's another high draft pick. You know, I mean, I guess the Spurs were, of course, a different team with the way they were assembled with Parker and Ginobili as well, too. But, and, you know, Kawhi being a later pick. The Spurs, of course, is a special organization, chat. But the Lakers, like James Worthy was a number 1 overall draft pick in the draft. Like, what was Kevin McHale's pick in the draft, chat? Because he's like, you know, the 6th man. And, you know, was he the 6th best player on the Celtics? Yeah, 3rd overall pick in the draft, chat. So let's take a look. And I know the Celtics, you go through their history and there's always like some trading stuff that they're able to maneuver back in the day as well, too. You know, I don't know if Red Auerbach was still on the team when McHale got drafted, but they were always able to maneuver around and get the guys. But yeah, like Bird, of course, was a number 6 pick. Cedric Maxwell, number 12 pick. So, you know, you're pushing it in the lottery a little bit there. Paul Westphal, 10th overall pick. Cowens, yeah, 4th overall pick, of course. You know, JoJo White, 9th overall pick. Chat. So, I mean, you know, it's going to be like, we look at the Bucks team that won the title, and I guess all of those guys are just random picks. Giannis is a 14th overall pick. Like Drew Holiday, or not, yeah, Drew Holiday was on the team. I don't know why I was thinking he was back on the Pelicans then, but yeah, of course he was traded from the Pelicans. That's why they won the title. But, okay, so he was the 17th pick. Giannis was the 13th pick. And then was Middleton undrafted or in the 20s? He had a G League run, of course. But yeah, 2nd round, 39th overall pick. So, I mean, Brook Lopez might have been the highest drafted guy on this list. Yeah, 10th overall, chat. He might have been their overall highest draft pick. So I guess, you know, again, it's not perfect for every team, but I guess it's not surprising to look back at these teams and go, okay, even the guy that ascended to be the 3rd best player in this team or whatever, in a different type of role than you maybe project him in the draft, was a guy that had that type of ability. And even like Westbrook, like you're saying, even he was, of course, a high-level draft pick and a guy that actually figured it out in his career, but is able to move into a different role, of course, and still be, you know, when he's cooking, chat, a high-level guy, you know, like best type of guy, 6-man role. You're like, you know, Westbrook playing at this level, chat, in the regular season is definitely probably a 6-man of the year contender. And I don't think he was necessarily, yeah, maybe from a fan, a non-Nuggets fan, Westbrook fans would have had Westbrook as a 6-man of the year contender. But again, Westbrook like this is definitely on the list. He's impactful as anybody on the bench and with this team as well too. Like you're making cases he's maybe their 3rd best player. night to night third, fourth best player on the team as well too. You know, maybe second even if things are really going great. But it just did get me thinking about those type of guys, because those are always the type of guys that I think you have to keep an eye on as well too, as parts get moving in the league. Is who is the guy that was once viewed in that type of light, chat, that could be again, a little bit more of a franchise type guy, but there is something about having him in a more defined role, because I guess you could just say in a different role, I guess, but it's like, okay, having you in a role where you get to just focus on your accentuated skills maybe is really the thing. Because, again, it's like, can Aaron Gordon go out there and do everything necessary to lead the offense? And if I say in the way that Jokic does, obviously, to the level that Jokic does, Jokic is one of the best offensive players, if not the best of all time. But, I'm saying just everything that Jokic is, in terms of like the idea of a guy obviously scoring and playmaking and just accomplishing a lot of things, on the offensive side. Like, is Gordon going to run that much of the offense? Obviously not. But, respect. But if you let him be in an area where, he can be athletic, he can be defense, he can attack the basket, and then you saw his upside from three, and now we've seen that start to develop as well too, and he's been consistent with that, in the clutch especially for the Nuggets. Like, you see the type of player with his focusing on those positive things, the type of amazing player that he can become. So I did want to take a quick scan through some of the drafts here. The Nuggets are keeping it close in the first quarter, chat. 21-28, so 7 points each quarter is still on pace to lose by basically 30. And I guess it would be too soon to dive into this draft, the rookies, chat. Who's going to be the guy? Which of these rookies is going to be the guy in, year 7 that's like, oh, remember when we forgot about him? And again, it's specifically, and you're always monitoring everybody in the league to like, what's the comparative value that, they're going to bring to the team at the cost and all that, all that stuff. Like, you don't want to miss an opportunity unless you're Phil Jackson. You want to make sure that you're watching as much of the basketball as possible. Unless you're Phil Jackson running the Knicks, because obviously, Phil Jackson is arguably the second greatest basketball coach of all time. And I'm saying arguably, you're arguing him second and third, because we're not arguing him over Greg Popovich, obviously. Because make no mistake, Greg Popovich in this team president role, is he gonna be like Phil Jackson for the Knicks? I'm just telling you right now, as a Spurs fan, I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I'm just guessing. And again, I'm not a Knicks fan. I can't put myself in Knicks fans' shoes in that moment, but I can only speak for where I'm at. I think I'm a little bit more confident in Greg Popovich as a team president than Phil Jackson at that stage in their respective careers. And again, various responsibilities could be a thing that factor into it as well too. Like, again, we have Brian Wright in place to do a lot of the basketball stuff, but you would expect that Pop is still going to be a very, very influential part of the organization. But chat, and I say this respectfully because, again, obviously we respect Pop's basketball knowledge, but you don't want a guy as well too to just be like if it's Howie Roseman, Sam Presti type guy steering the ship. So I guess Pop is definitely that level of basketball coach type guy. But I'm just saying, do you necessarily want the team the guy that moved up to the team president just like all of a sudden is like Popovich controlling everything? Again, I'm not against that if it's great, but I just think Pop has the ability to know what he needs to do on that team. And I think that if that's to be very active in the team president role, then he can obviously step up and do that. Or if it's to, at certain times, be like, no, this is this guy's role, this is this guy's role, we trust. I mean, he was obviously trusting Brian Wright as the general manager as well, too, before that. So it's not like he wouldn't have been less influential with Brian Wright in there anyway. So I don't think the dynamic changes at all. And again, I think Pop, again, the idea is for Pop to, there's a load management role for Pop, Chad. It is what it is. He's actually earned load management. Greg Popovich, the guy who introduced load management to the league, has actually successfully earned his right, chat, to have some load management in his career. It is what it is. There you go. Pause. Finally, it's like, okay, well-deserved, chat. Well-deserved. But Yeah, and again, you're monitoring everybody in the league is the point. But it's always, again, just interesting because of the level to which those skills can climb, chat. Because you think even a guy like, I guess KCP was he am I thinking like 7th or 14th? He was one of those two, and I don't know why I would think that, maybe because of the multiple type thing, chat, but one or the other. I think he might have been, 8th! He was neither, chat. The 8th overall pick in the draft. So kind of in that Murray range. Again, I guess kind of in the range that we're looking at. I guess I'm thinking like, you know, that 4 to 6, maybe like 4 to 8 type range. But, you know, you see like in this draft specifically, chat, are we at 24 draft? This most recent draft? But for some reason I was thinking McCain was in year 2, but no, he was in, I guess I'm like, hey, did they get this wrong, chat? But he was, I think he reclassified as well too, so I don't know why we would think that he would be the one that would be the older of the guys. But he was also competing with Steph Castle as well too there for a little bit for Rookie of the Year. Maybe the one guy that actually would have given him a run as well too if he would have stayed healthy. And, you know, with the way the Sixers season panned out, he would have had opportunity to get a lot of points, chat. 15.3 points per game. He's still the points per game leader anyways for this rookie class, even though, of course, Castle, which is fortunately being able to stay healthy this season, ended up as a byproduct scoring more. The only player to hit 1,000 points this rookie year, Reece Shea at number 2. Very encouraging, of course. Alexander Sarr. You're feeling like you didn't quite mess it up too bad, chat. And, of course, maybe not even at all by taking those guys at 1 and 2. It's just Steph Castle. Spurs fans, we are captivated, chat. We're locked in with this new young dynamic duo. Okay, wait, chat, snack break. There it is. And still a 4-point game. Second quarter underway here. But again, just to maybe find a guy in that Aaron Gordon model, and there becomes a thing as well too. You think about the time that they got Aaron Gordon in his career, where it's sort of that immediate shift away. And again, here, let's do we need to like go back and look up Aaron Gordon's role on the Magic here real quick and just kind of remember who else was on that roster? Because yeah, he was 17 points a game, you know, in 17-18. I guess he's 16 points a game in Denver there, so pretty close. I guess, you know, pretty just a different type of shot that he's getting, you know, generating for himself a little bit in this 17 point a game, 16 point a game, back-to-back years here. You know, we did look at that playoff. I remember we looked at that playoff run number, and it was actually pretty decent, that one little 5-game series here. If we did the game-by-game breakdown, I don't know exactly how it would play out. But, again, you think the team that has him is expecting something from him, so there's like a certain level of maybe compensation that's involved. There's just like a certain level of the team is probably, there's just, you know, again, with the direction that the teams are going and the value that you can get these guys, a lot of times there is undervaluing that can happen as well too, maybe with them in a way. Where what was even that Gordon? No, let's go back to Gordon's trade. What was that Gordon? Did he give up like multiple first-round picks for, again, a guy who was a number 4 overall pick in the draft? You hope that at least moved to 2. So traded with by Orlando with Gary Clark. Shout out to Gary Clark. Gary Clark Jr. chat to the Denver Nuggets to R.J. Hampton, Gary Harris in a 2025 pick and a trade exception. Top 5 protected, and it conveys with same protect. Oh, so what they would have gotten that either way in one of those years if it wouldn't have, you know, if they wouldn't have conveyed it already. I guess. Oh, is that this year, chat? I'm not even thinking. I'm just so used to just, it's just like a thing that you read. It didn't even sink in that this was this draft. So wait, is this the Aaron Gordon pick draft? Oh, look at that, chat. Literally the one year that this might be the most paid off, because again, Aaron Gordon's important to this team. It feels like even more important than before. Oh, Westbrook with the steal on J-Dub, forcing the turnover. The sneaky from the blind side, chat. Now he's posting up Caruso. Westbrook takeover. Aaron Gordon for 3. Oh, put it in, chat. Jokic off the floor. Denver, can they actually sustain a close / maybe even take the lead here? There's no Shea as well, too. So, are they trying to pace the minutes? Do we need a... Or is this just a, you know, throw J-Dub in the fire type moment and see what you get? Because he gets a little bucket there, chat. So that's nice. 3 for 3 tonight is what you love to see. So here we go. Here's a little prove-it J-Dub stretch. A little J-Dub versus Murray. Just in terms of sort of the guys on the court. Because you got Case and Wallace actually matched up on Murray right now. J-Dub, Porter Jr. for 3. And the refs are being very, I'm going to say generous to the Thunder with the foul calls on some of these three-point shots because they're not calling them. And the Thunder are definitely getting in their space a little bit. I'm not like, oh, we need to call these fouls, guys. I'm just pointing out that it's a thing that's happening. Just to rile up the, I guess, both fan bases. The Thunder fans are like, no, and the Nuggets fans are like, yeah, you're seeing it too. We're getting screwed here. But Westbrook. And again, as Billy Buckets gets closer to winning a title with Shea than we do with Wembanyama, we're going to probably start, we're going to root for balance, chat. So I think balance, unfortunately for Billy Buckets, he doesn't know this, but balance in the NBA is Wembanyama winning a title before Shea. It's just with the timeline. I can't control this stuff, chat. I'm not the one that sets the rules. I just have, you know, we're just Loki, like, sitting at the end. I guess we're not necessarily, but can anybody else just, like, look at all the time? It's like Loki had a friend that was just like, hey, Loki, what's going on in that timeline? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's the one where Wembanyama has to win a title before Shea. And we're like, oh, let's just slide us. Put us in that one, Loki, please. We want to be in the Wemby. Is there a timeline where Wembanyama wins 10 titles? And it's just, is there one where he wins 20? Like, what's the best Wembanyama timeline, please? Put us in that one. And they're like, oh, yeah, the best Wembanyama timeline is he is on the Vegas Mavericks. And you're like, wait, what happened? They traded Luka for Wembanyama after the... Wait, what happened? So, you know, the timeline... I guess the timeline doesn't guarantee him in San Antonio, chat, but it would have to be. The best timeline for Wemby is not in San Antonio? You're wrong, chat. You're wrong. It's literally perfect. It all lined up for it to happen anyways. But there we go. Okay, Wembanyama corner for the night. Porter Jr., Nuggets with the lead without Jokic. So Chet and Jada both in the game, we should point out as well, too. So you got the 1-2 combination with Shea. I mean, you got Porter and Murray. I know Porter's not necessarily holding the same standing that he might have once had. But, you know, again, he can still tap into that bag, I think, chat. So I guess they just showed a replay of the 3 that we mentioned. And I guess the Nuggets, there is a little definitely kick out as well, too, from Porter. I mean, Porter's got a little, you know, he definitely's got a little bend in his jump shot as well. But I guess they're just kind of letting it play if there's going to be some movement with the jump shooter with the base as well, too, getting into the defender space. So it's playoff basketball, chat. Just let them battle it out in the air, I guess. If you just make tough jumpers, you make tough jumpers. But the Nuggets actually have. So maybe that actually benefits the Nuggets a little bit. Like, you want to semi-foul them. Like, the Nuggets are, I think, a team that kind of wants to hit a jump shot going to the floor and then complain afterwards. Like, Porter, is that an offensive foul? Yeah. Like, Luka definitely wants to, Luka wants to do that. I think LeBron, so the Lakers are close, chat. The Lakers are close. But, I mean, and Shea wants to get to the foul line, but I think he wants to get to the foul line at any point. So he's definitely trying to draw fouls on these little pull-up jumpers in kind of a Harden-esque way as well, too. I mean, I think maybe even Harden, and I don't know, chat, this is starting to get into sketchy territory here, but I don't even know if Harden quite had the pull-up jumper foul stuff that Shea had. Like, it feels like when Harden did get the foul, and Shea definitely gets these as well, too, but a lot of those Harden mid-range fouls as well, too, whereas he would go to the defender on his hip mode, and he would try to get the defender in the, you know, behind him and get for the floaters to stop the momentum and those type. And then, you know, he's just, especially in that Morey system, I mean, again, Harden would cook in the mid-range with the step-back stuff all the time, but it was a lot of, you know, of course, 3, and then the drives swooping in, going to the basket where he's, you know, really hooking the offensive player's arms and really just controlling the basketball on his drives, but through the contact, obviously, of the defenders. So But it just does seem like Shea has a little like herky-jerky thing in the mid-range, obviously, that gets him some of these foul looks that even some of like even Luka as well, like just some of the other foul-heavy guys. Again, it's a lot of the just their ability to generate contact. I guess maybe Brunson would be the other. Speaking of drawing fouls, of course, revolutionary conclusion. The two guys that got baked a little bit in the season for the foul hunting type stuff would be the ones that we would think of for this conversation. But again, I think it's more so, and that was part of the conversation, was their ability versus the baiting, quote unquote, that they do. But I guess it's, for us, we were considering it just a credit. But it's just, more of an aspect, it's just an aspect of the game that he has, and it makes Shea a unique player. And as much as people find it annoying, chat, like, and I'm not saying that Shea is headed for this fate in terms of his career, but again, you do see the foul-reliant players aren't. You don't think about that in NBA history. You don't think about this guy won the finals by dragging his team based on the free throw line. Again, you think great players can get to the free throw line when they need to, absolutely, and there's iconic moments, but more often than not, you didn't. I guess we mentioned it earlier, Chad. Outside of the one very controversial one, and I think. Was Donaghy even reffing that finals? So I guess that finals, for as great as Wade was, maybe it's not one that the league necessarily even wants to totally rehash. I think we can look up the refs for some of those games here, chat. Remington untold as we rehash the Tim Donaghy scandal, chat. What happened? Did we get the right one? 0506, chat. Let's go. Second team All-NBA that year, 6th. In MVP voting. I don't know if Donaghy would have been on the call for on the whistle, chat for every game. Do they just have like a refs page here? Oh, they don't. We're gonna have to go to each game. They definitely have them on game 1, chat. Well, I guess we could probably just look for these last couple of games when the free throw stuff got really bad, because again, the Mavs did take the 2-0 series lead. Heat tied up 2-2. And then, wait a second. We're just looking at the home team situation here. So, yeah, you've got the Mavs still do win the first 2. The Heat win game 3, of course, because the Mavs don't go up 3-0. But and they don't go up. I guess they did win 2-2 because they didn't go up 3-1 as well too. Because again, of course the LeBron team was the first team ever to make the 3-1 comeback in the finals. But the 2-0. So yeah, 4 straight then. I guess for some reason it would have to be 4 straight. Down 2-0. If you were to win it and not make the 3-1 comeback, like again, the Celtics they don't have to win 4 straight to win this series. Mathematically, they could win, of course, 4 of the next 5. The only 2 options that they have, Chad. But like this game 5, maybe Wade with 43 points. Was Donaghy on the call? Or again, Chad, I guess Crawford. Joe DeRosa. Maybe that's why, Chad. I don't know if Joe DeRosa's a ref or a comedian or who that is. But he's got to be on for one of these games. Dan Crawford, Steve Jaddy, Eddie F. Rush as well. Okay, so Donaghy not on the call for either of those games. Or was he maybe one of those like Lakers series or the finals one of those playoff series leading into one of those Shaq Kobe Lakers things, like maybe on the Western side, or he was in like that Bucks Sixers type series where that one's a little sketchy as well too. Maybe the league kind of was like, hey, has Iverson earned himself a finals appearance? Speaking of scripted moments in potential NBA history, chat. Again, just to, I guess, not to just take away from Iverson there, chat. Shout out Iverson, obviously one of the great. It's two-sided, chat. One of the great conspiracies, one of the great accomplishments, either way. That, again, sometimes that's great accomplishments, they just have to be explained, chat. The moon landing, obviously it can't be real. It's too good to have happened. But, as time goes, chat, is becoming an adult, realizing the moon landing was fake? Who knows? But, yeah, either way, I guess we'll do more research on the Donaghy career a little bit later. And that's going to forget, the free throw stuff. We were looking through the draft, I guess. We were gonna find the next Aaron Gordon, chat. Nuggets down 4, chat. Just under 6 minutes left here in the second quarter. So here we go. Home court. Maybe it does matter for the Nuggets. Altitude. the young team affected by the potential location. I don't know what the elevation is for OKC. That might be a kind of a flat place, Chad. I'm not. And maybe I guess flat could be true. It could be deserty type stuff. I guess just stereotyping Oklahoma here. But I'm thinking also like very sea level E. I don't know if it's like 16 feet off the sea level and just very, very flat. I'm not exactly sure how the topography of all that stuff works out. And either way, chat. Looking for the next Aaron Gordon. So yeah, again, long ways. We'll get there, chat. We'll get there. 23 draft. Sophomore guys just starting to take shape. But Amen Thompson, obviously a guy that is maybe turning the corner the other way and actually becoming the franchise guy. Asar Thompson seeming like, headed for potentially Aaron Gordon level impact. I think he is maybe even on pace to look like a more interesting prospect than Aaron Gordon as well too. But again, if he's like the second or third guy on a title team, then that's ultimately, at the end of the day, you can ask for, regardless of what style or how he's able to accomplish that. Anthony Black in Orlando, Coulibaly, Jarris Walker, the other three guys in that 4 to 8 range. So I think, and the other piece of it as well too, again, becomes does this team sort of expect a little bit too much from this guy in this spot, where Anthony Black is walking into a situation where, you've already got Paolo, you've already got Franz, and you've already got Jalen Suggs is emerging as the basic, third, second, maybe even most impactful, outside of Paolo on that team. If Wendell Carter is playing well and, is Black the 4th to 5th to 6th guy on the team, and again, it's like a good version of him as well too. I'm saying, the 4th best version of him, it could be ideal with those 3 guys. And now your lineup is actually really, really amazing because, again, Anthony Black is your 4th best player, but you're not necessarily, you're bringing him again, to be what Aaron Gordon is now. You're not bringing him in to be, is this the potential? Because that's Amen Thompson at 4. Again, 4 is kind of starting to teeter in that spot where, okay, we're getting a swing on. And that was the thing with the Thompson brothers. Like, if they don't work out as a primary ball handler, what's their spot as non-shooters in the league? And I think, and obviously they are such special athletes, but if there's ever a rule of thumb in the draft now, Chad, after watching the Thompson twins, if there's ever generational athletes in the draft, just take them. Just take them. You just draft them. Giannis, the Thompson twins, you just draft them. And I think maybe the Justice Winslow, Stanley Johnson, not to just name names, but some of those type of 4 to 8 pick type guys that didn't work out that you would classify as the athletic but kind of need refining type players, maybe they didn't actually have the same type of athleticism, and again, I have to actually go back and study that stuff, but just the special freakish nature of some of these guys, chat, is like, okay, guess what? We're going to bet on that because you see Asar on the other end, and Asar has the ability to be much more than what I'm about to say, and I absolutely believe it as well too. But Asar, you see right now him as just a defender, and again, and maybe I shouldn't even say that as well too. You see his ability as just a defender. He's still, again, right now able to contribute more in the game than just the defense. But if his defensive ability was, we'll get it on the third try, chat. If his defensive ability was the only factor in his game that you could see going forward, it's his athleticism. He's such a high-level defender potentially that he is a valuable asset to the team, regardless of, again, how the rest of his game develops out. But point being, both those guys are all of these guys, at least the 4, 5, and 6, feel like they're going into favorable spots right now for their potential developmental games. Coulibaly on the Wizards is already kind of being, I think, well, no, I shouldn't say that. We still like Coulibaly. Jarris Walker is a little bit one, because again, these guys got traded for each other, is a little bit of a one that's kind of like, he just hasn't quite seen it as many minutes. But the Pacers, again, they're maybe a better team than we thought. As the rotations continue to get a little bit more strict down the stretch runs, and as they need to rely on some more veteran play maybe to advance in the playoffs, maybe it's just not quite time for him to find a spot in the lineup. So maybe he's kind of a hey, yo, chat, I don't want to start naming, throwing out new phrases, but is he the reverse Aaron Gordon? That sounds like something you don't want to look up in the Urban Dictionary, but where, again, it's not a demotion for Aaron Gordon. I'm not trying to say that, but I just, as a quick way to try to say a phrase and keep it moving. Like, you're bringing in a guy that, and again, maybe just the overall field goal attempts in it, balance it back out for Aaron Gordon. Again, you see in the scoring numbers, but you're like, okay, do you expect him to get lesser looks with this more stacked team in Denver? Like, maybe Jarris Walker, you're like, okay, can we buy low on Jarris Walker and bring him in and upgrade his role? Obviously, could be the looks. So he is definitely a guy, if we're just starting from the 23 class, that could be in that next Aaron Gordon type mix. In 22, you've got Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin on the Pacers, Shaedon Sharpe from Portland, and Dyson Daniels from New Orleans, chat, who we kind of already are seeing in this role. Like, he got traded, of course, to Atlanta in the Murray piece. And speaking of guys defensively, of course, I mean, one of the impact guys, right, when he got to Atlanta, fit ideally with what they're trying to build with that roster. But again, it's kind of already become what Aaron Gordon is. The Hawks just don't have Jokic at this point, or, you know, unfortunately the Jokic level player, until Jalen Johnson, I guess, develops into that, or Reisher Shea, I guess. But where were we at, chat? Oh yeah, Dyson Daniels was already moved around and kind of undervalued for this type of conversation. So that is actually kind of a perfect example. And again, it's earlier in his career for him than it was with Aaron Gordon, but he was, and maybe they just overpaid as well too. You know, that is always a possibility. But he was essentially just a part of a larger deal and has now developed into the most potential, you know, best part of that deal as well. Sharpe in Portland, I think Portland still looks at their team and goes, Sharpe can be a leader on this team. I think there's definitely a bunch of other young pieces as well too, in different type. Like Klingon can be a centerpiece of this team. Can he be obviously like the guy that you're going to run your offense through? Probably not, but can definitely be a centerpiece type team building center, I guess, a literal centerpiece for that franchise. But what was I about to look up here, chat? I'm just rambling and not paying attention to what I was about to look up. We were talking about championship. Oh, I was just gonna look up the Blazers roster here and see what the rest of it looks like. Again, Scoot as well too. Advia, I guess Advia, you know, it's an interesting sort of have a bunch of guys, but who's gonna develop, if any, into the main lead star? Who's going to seize the day, chat? Seize their opportunity. I mean, Simons as well, too. We should have mentioned him, but they still don't have a guy that is emerged or sort of taken the reins as the leader of the team in a big way. So, and maybe Sharpe just, already you see him second in the team in scoring behind Simons, and a couple more just games played in general. A little bit better of a field goal percentage number. So you see just him. I think his ability attacking the rim is already, you see just how high level athletic that he could be, that the respect of that, I think, on the team is already amongst the highest of any of the things that the guys can do in the lineup at this point. So I think, if that statement made sense, Chad, I think Portland is still kind of keeping faith in Shaedon Sharpe to develop and take steps forward. But, you know, he's obviously a guy on our watch list. For Aaron Gordon watch list, not even, chat. I'm paying high. I'm buying high on Shaedon Sharpe, and I am bringing him into this team to have a great role. Like, you know, we're giving up all the first-round picks, and we're making it worth it because he's taking shots. It's going to be Shaedon Sharpe's team. It's like Wemby, I know that we drafted you and you're the generational prospect, but Shaedon Sharpe's going to take 20 shots a game, and we just need you to continue to play defense. Sorry, Wemby, you're going to have to rebound now, unfortunately. But Shaedon Sharpe is, and, you know, Mathurin, that's working out. Ivy, I think that Detroit is going to be interested to see how that affects them in the playoffs next year, if they're able to continue to get back. And, you know, with whatever their team looks like, I mean, just in general next year, I think they're going to be interesting to see how that Cade and just that Cade and him combination, I guess, play out. So Ivy is definitely on a watch list of like, hey, yo, chat, like, for just what happens, what if, just something. But I think they also could go really, really well together. Again, Aaron Gordon didn't have that superstar that's like, is Aaron Gordon going to pair up nicely with this young player and young teammate? Like, Cade is the guy that can be the best player in the face of the franchise and carry the playoff series. How can Ivy complement him and add to the rest of the team that's doing it, then star in his own right, of course, in the moments that they need him to for various reasons? But Detroit's going to want to see for a little bit what they've got with Ivy as well, too. You've got Barnes, Suggs, Giddey, Kuminga, and Franz Wagner, chat, in 2021. And, of course, just this entire draft is one of the really great drafts. I mean, really great, I guess. But just in terms of recently, one of the really fun drafts that I should say that we've had. And Jalen Green is actually leading this class in scoring, which I guess I didn't realize. But shout out, very impressive. I mean, there's definitely a games played thing here with him and some of the top guys. So if we did points per, yeah, Cade is the number one in points per game. But Jalen Green's got him in the win shares, chat, per 48. Cade, though, oh, chat, shout out Cade. Oh, wait a second. Where's our lead guy? Oh, no, yeah, Cade is number one. And Svengoon, a little higher. Trey Murphy as well, too. Vorp, chat, Svengoon, Mobley, Barnes, Giddey. But yeah, and again, like, this draft is the perfect example. Like, it's not just these guys that obviously ascend. Svengoon at 16, Trey Murphy at 17, Jalen Johnson at 20 might be him and Cade, might be our two favorite players in the draft, and it's the number one and the number 20 pick. And Cam Johnson, obviously, as well, too. Bones Highland. I mean, this draft is stacked, chat. Wieskamp, the Iowa guy, and Livers, back-to-back picks. Herb Jones in the second round. I mean, so many lovable places. Luka Garza, Charles Bassey. We still have stuff. Aaron Wiggins, just 55, hanging out. Probably the best player in the second round. Easily the best player in the second round, chat. Lottery pick probably. Where's he at in points for this class? He's just started to kind of be a more consistent player, of course, this year. Oh, wait, there he is. 16th? So, yeah, chat, just borderlining on lottery pick just in terms of points scored. And maybe he's another we need to do the points per game mix. What is he at? 8.6? Oh, maybe not, chat. Maybe not. Yeah, 21st in points per game. Kispert's got him by a little bit. Josh Giddey as well. Like, Giddey's a guy that's in this conversation, but Giddey, again, another kind of sort of reverse Aaron Gordon situation where it's almost like Aaron Gordon being traded from the Nuggets now, where Giddey is a guy that was a bad fit for the Thunder, and Aaron Gordon's a guy that's a good fit for the Nuggets. But Giddey, role player, sort of being traded upwards to the Bulls. Let's take a swing. Maybe Giddey still just still is a guy that will be a piece to the team, or maybe he's a guy that can carry much more of the offense than, not that we thought, but maybe that he continued to prove that he can actually handle that much responsibility for running these teams. So again, he's a guy that's already been traded. Make no mistake, Kuminga's already been traded. He's just still on the Warriors at this point, but the trade machine is, I think, an open tab on Steve Kerr's computer at this point every night. He played Kevin Knox in the playoff game against the Wolves. It made me forget who they were playing against in that game. Just the idea. Once Kevin Knox checks into a playoff game, I think the ratings get cut. Ayo chat. But it's just like, oh man, is that the sign of for what game we are getting right here? And like we said, back for these guys, Suggs as well too as the 5th pick in this draft is a guy that is becoming more and more important to this Orlando team. But Scotty Barnes is honestly the perfect definition of this type of player. And once again, another 4th overall pick. So maybe it's just the Aaron Gordon. We call that pick the Aaron Gordon, the number 4 pick, if it's this type of career. But you think about him in Toronto. He goes to Toronto, and he, of course, wins Rookie of the Year. He is expected to bring along the offense in that type of way as a quote-unquote star player, and it just hasn't quite happened in the all-round game the way that maybe we thought it would. But if he was traded, I mean, again, just to use the Spurs as an example, not to say that we would use our pieces before Giannis potentially on Scotty Barnes just to get a star, but, say what you want about Scotty Barnes as a star. I'll defend it, Chad. I'll defend it. Star in Canada anyways. Face of the league, Scotty Barnes is. Shea winding down. 10 seconds left. End of the shot clock. J-Dub swings it to Isaiah Joe. No, it's going to be J-Dub for 3 over Westbrook. Off the back of the rim, chat. Denver down 5, 51-56 at halftime. But, again, say you trade him to a team like San Antonio. We have Scotty Barnes, Steph Castle, Giannis, and Victor Wembanyama. Somehow we still have Castle and all these guys still in the... And we still have, like, some random Hawks pick as well, too. Who knows, Chad? We just somehow keep that. Or just somehow, just subconsciously just keep getting it in the future. But you trade him to a team like that where he could take a little bit of a step back, have a little bit more ability to focus on the things he does well. Maybe he play makes a little bit more and some of the defensive stuff. But him in a different role could be like a real Aaron Gordon type role player. And he could be another guy as well, too, that could kind of figure out the three-point shooting a little bit. Like, obviously, his number's a little bit lower for his career, but put him in a different system. Put him in a different system where he's getting some of the threes off the ball, and maybe that helps, kind of like Gordon. And Gordon can definitely, get a little bit of a three-pointer off the dribble at this point. But that is, like, right now a podium candidate for Aaron Gordon. And I'm not trying to be like, Scotty Barnes, do we need to demote him down to number 2 player on the team? I'm just saying that if teams need to get to start making moves and, who pops available, what are the outcomes for the guys that we bring in? I think there's like a definite Aaron Gordon level impact for a guy like Scotty Barnes if you're thinking along those lines. And like we said with Aaron Gordon, I don't know if that becomes the price tag at some point because I had to look back. I don't know if he was on the same equivalent contract that Scotty Barnes is on right now. He is on a little bit of a deal at this point. It'll be in the 40s, I think, at some point there. But even a guy like Scotty Barnes in the 40s with his upside is not a bad move at all, I think. It's not disastrous from a contract standpoint, maybe the way that some of these other numbers can really get to looking, and with guys on the other side of their careers, and maybe they're going to have reliability issues the other way, chat. But just Barnes is perfect for this type of experiment, like we're saying. High-value guy, is expected to lead the offense, bring him in around a star, and just watch him really, really thrive in that sort of spot. But 2020, and again, I don't know how far we need to go back because I guess it could be in theory, a guy at any point in his career. But it's a little bit of a guy that's like Aaron Gordon right now is not an old player, Chad. It's not like he's at the end of his run. He might be in his 30s now, 30. But he's not 36. He is... he's 29 right now. He'll be 30 in September. So he'll be 30 by the time we get to next season. So he got to Denver. When did he get to Denver? He got to Denver when he was 25. Luka. They traded him at the Luka age, chat. You got to get these superstars when they're 25. When Scotty Barnes turned 25? Let's go back and find this out, chat. What are we, Leo DiCaprio? Let's see here, chat. Scotty Barnes will turn 25... 23 in 281 days. So 25 in August 1st of 2026. So he has one more year left to play in the sub. One more year left in Toronto, and then he gets traded after that at 25? Chat, it's kind of lining up. But, yeah, feels like a prime candidate, I guess. And we were looking at the next year here with, again, Edwards, LaMelo. Like, LaMelo, is he going to be an Aaron Gordon candidate of that type of guy? Maybe you see him next to another star at some point in his career. But, again, feels more like a... And I'm careful what I'm saying here, chat. I get any comparison you make to Kyrie, of course, is heavy praise. But I'm just saying maybe that sort of impactful sidekick guard type character in a run like that. Maybe we could see him at that run where, again, you're putting up like a really crazy scoring number. There's some playmaking stuff. You're like, is, Kyrie's obviously not the best player on the court, but is Kyrie the best player on the court? Like, he's really cooking right now. Like, LaMelo kind of, I think, get into those type of conversations that you could hear about with the people describing his game. But Pat Williams, Isaiah Okoro, Okongwu, Killian Hayes, and Obi Toppin, who, again, Advia at 9, if we want to kind of work him into this conversation as well, too. He could be an Aaron Gordon. We already see the numbers right now are insane in Portland. So Portland, I think, wants to keep him. His contract is insane as well, too, making like $15 million a year. So if a team really gets desperate for some inexpensive talent in a way, right away, then maybe they send a overhaul of picks for, I guess the overhaul for Advia. I guess I'm not saying the overhaul of picks just in general compared to other superstar player, but maybe they just kind of overpay a little bit in the picks department for Advia. I mean, again, you're giving up sort of cost-effective talent as well, too, by giving up the picks. But maybe you just like Advia's immediate impact and ability. But Toppin, again, we've already seen traded to the Pacers as well. Killian Hayes, unfortunately, might be out of the league at this point. Okongwu on the Hawks. They do love Okongwu over there. They do have the kid from Washington State, but I think they probably end up keeping Okongwu around as a big man there. Cleveland, Okoro, maybe. But once again, a 4th to 5th guy, his role has already been sort of reduced to what it is on this team. And Patrick Williams for the Bulls could definitely be this conversation. He definitely could, Chad, if you surrounded him with some better players and his, if his three-pointers are a little more wide open, who knows? I guess I don't know if he's already like a super wide open three-pointer type guy, but Bulls, Chad, they're in a blackout restriction on the league pass in this part of the Midwest. It is what it is. We're just located too close. But I didn't get any strong Aaron Gordon vibes from the 2021 class from this little mini range of guys. Maybe Patrick Williams is a little bit of an interesting case though for that name, but 2019 guys 5 to 6 years in the league now. 4 years, I guess. Shout out for Jared Culver, the number 6 pick. So I don't know if he's in the conversation for this. Hunter has gotten traded as well too. 3rd to 4th to 5th or whatever, most important guy on I guess the Cavs got the 4th and the 5th pick from this draft. Culver, like we're saying, is the 6th pick. Kobe White, the 7th pick, and Jackson Hayes is the 8th pick. Rui at 9. Same similar story in a very Aaron Gordon role in LA, even though of course he wasn't on the LA team when they won the title. Has just been impactful for them being a competitive team as of late. But Kobe White is an interesting one for this role. Interesting for a guard because I'm thinking as well too, Aaron Gordon's got a two-way aspect to his game. So Kobe White with the defensive presence as well could be a fun wrinkle, I guess. But yeah, his three-point shooting and offensive game as well too, of course, could be a definite rise up if he was able to find himself in a new situation with a different, / better supporting cast around him as well too. But once again, no. And I guess comparing everybody to Scotty Barnes is not going to be fair because that's just about the best Aaron Gordon comp that I think that we're going to have here. Jaren Jackson, Trae Young, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox. Once again, the Bridges, Mikal Bridges, Shai Gilgeous, Miles Bridges, Jerome Robinson, Michael Porter. That's a pretty good stretch except for, unfortunately, Jerome Robinson, which I stand by it, chat. If the Clippers were drafting again, they're getting Jerome Robinson again. I stand by it. I think he can figure it out. Even still, at this point, make a comeback, chat. Pause for Jerome Robinson. I fully support it. But yeah, Kevin Knox, we already said. Shout out, make it the playoff series. Wendell Carter, I guess, has already been traded. Colin Sexton's already been traded. Bamba is in a bit of a different phase in his career. Trae Young, of course, I think, is expected to be that number 1 guy. So maybe he's a really extreme version of it, where then you scale him back to number 2, and you're like, wait a second, I didn't realize Trae Young was this awesome as a number 2 potential candidate. And Jaren Jackson almost feels like the type of guy, if the Grizzlies reset the franchise, they'd end up just resetting it with Jaren Jackson at the center of it, or very, very, again, just active in the mix of what's going on. But yeah, Chad, I do think that Trae Young is an interesting person to at least keep in mind for this Aaron Gordon watch list territory. Again, a different scoring number version of it probably, but I think it could be the same type of thing. Chad, let's see here. We've got Josh Jackson, De'Aaron Fox, Jonathan Isaac, Lauri Markkanen, and Frank Ntilikina in 2017 draft, and we're about on the edge of qualifying. Pause. Hey, yo, Chad. Hey, yo. Maybe even already past it for qualifying for Aaron Gordon territory, because these guys are, 8 years in the league at this point. Tatum's entering the peak of his powers. The 3rd overall pick. Josh Jackson, of course, no longer with us in the NBA sense, chat. it is what it is. Some guys' careers are just cut short. So hasn't played since 2021. 12 games with the Sacramento Kings, chat. If think I'm getting this all done correctly. But yeah, I guess Fox has gotten traded, of course. The number 5 pick, Josh Jackson, like we said, his results. Jonathan Isaac is still with his team. Markkanen's gotten traded. And Ntilikina has gotten traded as well, too. So Ntilikina has gotten traded as well, too. Dennis Smith Jr. traded. Everybody's gotten traded except for Jonathan Isaac. I don't know, chat. I mean, I think Orlando, if they heard that, they were like, oh, man, yes, we got ourselves a winner. But, and not saying they don't got a winner, but, of course, you're just always curious there, chat. And, you know, Fox, maybe he is going to be, like, from a number 1 to, like, a number 2 role, but I think he'll be okay with that. Isaac, like you said. So, yeah, no one really with, again, strong Aaron Gordon vibes at this point. Just, the other 2, chat, that we ended up mentioning. Dragan Bender, Chris Dunn, Buddy Hield, Jamal Murray, and Marquise Chris are your 4 through your 8 in the 2016 draft, chat. And Chris Dunn was interesting with the Clippers this year, for sure. But that seems like a bit of a crazy time, chat. 2015 draft, this will be the last one we'll look up here. We got some decade athletes in the league at this point. Kristaps at 4, like we were saying, he's a little Aaron Gordon-y. Mario Hezonja, Willie Cauley-Stein, Emmanuel Mudiay, Stanley Johnson, Frank Kaminsky. Could be interesting to take a look at, chat, and see. But yeah, I think, because yeah, once we say, you know, the veteran guys, it starts moving into a different phase of his career. So right now, the leader for next Aaron Gordon is Scotty Barnes. There we go, chat. I think we figured it out. But halftime, like we said, underway for this 5-point lead. So go enjoy the second half, chat. We will do the same. Go enjoy your guys' weekend. And if you would like, chat, we can reconvene here Sunday. More playoff games. The Saturday drama will be under the way as well, too. Out of the way, under the belts, under the rug, depending on how bad it goes for the Celtics, I guess. Potentially, all kinds of different results on the table for Saturday's games. The weird, like 5-hour break between the start times, chat. Just like a 2:30 start and then a 7 o'clock start. It's like, okay, I guess I guess they don't need to entertain us in the afternoon as well, too. They're like, get outside, chat. Beautiful day. But, yeah, we will see you guys back here, of course, on Sunday, hanging out like we do on the YouTube here. You guys can subscribe to catch us on the live feeds. Of course, the archive's up as well, too. And the archive also exists on the podcast platforms as well. So, hey, why not, chat? Why not? Spotify, Apple, whatever else you could think of for a pod platform, it's probably on there. That's a good chance. I don't know how deep in the weeds you are with the podcast platforms, but if it feels like it checks the mark of like, yeah, it's a pretty basic, pretty big brand here. Rem and Sam work with some major brands, Spotify and Apple. I think, getting your podcast on those pretty basic checklist stuff in there, chat. But yeah, we got those feeds going. We've got the YouTube feed here going, like I said, and the message lines are open at Rem and Sam on Instagram, chat. If you want to send us a DM and get a little communication. Send us a message. Send us your takes. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. Send us your answers, chat. All the DMs at Rem and Sam. We got him, chat. But, yeah, like I said, we'll be back. Thank you guys for hanging out this time, and we will see y'all later.